available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Attention golf lovers and local supporters. Join Rogue Valley Habitat for Humanity's inaugural golf tournament Friday, April 25th at Centennial Golf Course in Medford. 4-person scramble with 9 a.m. shotgun start. $600. Get your dream team, the full VIP treatment, greens, fees, carts, prizes, tournament gear, and banquet tickets. Register by March 1st for our early bird special, a free team player pack worth $100. Time to show off those skills while helping local families achieve affordable homeownership. Register at roguevalleyhabitat.org or call 541-261-3520.
Hello, my name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, seen right here on Dove TV. You say wretched. Does this have something to do with cats and fur balls? No, it doesn't. Instead, it's understanding we are wretched sinners in need of an amazing Savior.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
And are you willing to say yes to the claims of Christ, that he is the Son of God, and that you want him to come into your heart and forgive your sins, and you want to know it? Oh, I know. Many of you have been baptized and confirmed. Most of you perhaps are members of some church, or you're identified with a church, or maybe you go to church 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know whether you do or not, but I'm sure a lot of you do. But you're not sure. You couldn't stand here tonight and say, I know my sins are forgiven. I know I'm going to heaven. God is willing to forgive all your past tonight because of the cross. God is willing to say, I forgive you because he loves you. And God is interested in you as though you were the only person in the whole world. And you can receive him tonight.
The Dove TV, encouraging, informative, and your home for Wretched TV weeknights at 9 p.m.
Well, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Look who I found today.
Good morning.
Paulina's back. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fine. Good to see you.
You too. It's great to see all the changes.
Well, you know, there's things happening here.
It's a lot easier to react to the changes when you were just coming and going.
Yeah.
I'm sure not everyone here is adapting as
well, you know,
easily.
change is hard for some people.
It is, yeah.
You know, and
Most of us
we are
probably.
making some changes around here only because it's long overdue in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, good morning. Good to see you. Paulina's
Good morning.
here with me for a couple of days, and tomorrow will be a surprise for everybody, and I won't say any more than that.
Yeah.
But Paulina's here, and she's doing well. And by the way, for those who don't know, Paulina is the one responsible getting me all the great guests that I have on Focus Today. People want to know, where do I find them? I don't. She finds them.
All the great and not so great guests. My fault.
Had a few. Had a few that are challenging. But no, I would say a vast majority of them.
Yeah.
Vast majority of them are fantastic. And
you know,
you got a couple new ones this past week that were really good.
Yeah, well, thank you. It used to be where we had to search for guests. You know, when we first started, we would interview all these crazy authors who had no idea what we're getting into, and, and those are longer formats. And now so many people want to be on the show that it's you have to kind of sift through them and learn to say no.
So, what's interesting, though, is some of the guests that you've invited on and other people watch us, they're now guests on their shows.
I know, I know.
We have been the stepping stone for a few people.
And you know, sometimes like when you're in the midst of it, you just kind of do it, and you schedule guests. But once in a while, I look, I'm like, wow, this is a really weird mix. You know, you'll be talking about economy, then you have a counselor, then you have someone on the Supreme Court. But that's kind of what makes the show great.
I think so.
I feel like, you know, you can get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I enjoy that because I just don't want to be an opinionated show like all the others. So anyway, we work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway,
Thank you
good
for the
morning.
opportunity.
Paulina's here. We're excited about that. There's a lot going on in the news. There always is. And let's see, do we have anything special today?
Well, we do. Today is the day when you're encouraged to write a letter to an elderly. Now, don't tell them that that's why you're writing, because they may not consider themselves elderly. But this is February 26th, and it's a National Letter to an Elderly Day.
Don't look at me.
I did not say a word. Encourage us putting pen to paper and writing to an elderly you know. Now, the question I have for you is, when you think of that word, is that the age, is that a number, or is that an attitude?
That's a great point. I always write people a note on their birthday. Age is a number, old is an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I think elderly are those who are obviously slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're maybe limited in some way.
Do you think the older we get, the further that boundary is? Because I bet when you were younger, the 70s and 80s were being elderly in your mind, and for me 60 used to be elderly when I was a young girl. Now I look at my mom, I look at so many friends I have, and you're right, it's not even in that category anymore.
Well, they say 60 is the new 40.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in today's culture it probably is. So people are living longer, there's no question about it. We have evidence here because we have so many retirement centers, and a lot of these retirement centers were built for people to maybe make it into the early 80s. Well, now they're well past that. So elderly is, I think it's a mindset.
Yeah. Well, also today is a National Set a Good Example Day. So if you're an elderly who has a lot of good habits and are active and enjoying life, maybe you can set a good example to your peers and show them what it's like to be a very active and spunky elderly. And finally, if you want something to eat.
Spunky elderly. There we go. We'll call that spunky elderly.
There you go, yeah. National Pistachio Day. You like all kinds of nuts, right? What do you think about pistachios?
I like them, but boy, you have to be careful. This is the one nut. If you're allergic to nuts, this one could put you in the hospital.
Okay.
But if you're not allergic to nuts, this one's great. Now, it's a little bit of a challenge because you have to work at it to get it out.
Well, yeah, like anything else good in life. Pistachios arrived in the United States sometime in the 1880s, but they have been cultivated in the Middle East since biblical times. So if you're looking for some biblical food for maybe your Bible study, put a bowl of pistachios and enjoy them.
Okay, well, listen, Alice, you might want to go into the refrigerator in there and don't tell Paulina. And in there was the surprise from yesterday. Yesterday was a nut day.
Yeah, it would be a surprise if I wasn't watching the show.
Oh.
But I know what it is, but I'll act surprised. Bring it on.
Act surprised. You're supposed to eat it.
I will. I will. Thanks, Barb.
Barb sent us 3 containers of chocolate-covered peanuts yesterday.
That's dedication. She's been doing it for years. And when I saw it, I just said, "Aw," because that's a good example. There you go, Barb. National Good Example Day.
Good Example Day. Thank you, Barb. All right, let's take a look at the weather and see what's happening there. Northern part of the state, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all was sunny weather and popping into the low 60s today. And the same thing if you're traveling through the Willamette Valley from Salem on into Albany down to Corvallis, Eugene. Just beautiful. Could see some patches of fog, but turning into a beautiful day, mid to upper 50s in the Willamette Valley. Central Oregon, now going to get some sunshine. Prineville, 57, Bend and Sun River in the mid-50s, mostly sunny weather. And over to Boise, 53 and sunny skies that way today, looking good. The coast, sunny. Coos Bay, 64. Port Orford and Brookings in the upper 50s. Crescent City, 59, all with beautiful sunshine, looking good. Southern Oregon, here we go. The spring tease is upon us. Grants Pass, Medford and Ashland, all in the mid-60s today. Mostly sunny weather. Klamath Falls, 54, and Wairika, 59. Sunshine. Down through the Central Valley, 72 already. And Redding, Chico, 69. Sacramento, Roseville, Marysville, all through there in the upper 60s, all with beautiful sunny skies. And the Bay Area is going to be fantastic. Santa Rosa and Napa in the low 70s. The city today will see 69 degrees. And are you ready for this? San Jose and East Bay, 77 degrees. And that's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather. And there's a little bit of a picture coming off of Roxanne moving from north to south. Actually, that's not either. That's another camera shot because there's a glow of the sunshine. So that's coming off of Baldy. Excuse me, going the other way. So we got to figure it out.
Well, I'm glad you know all those points.
I think I'm right. It's hard to do it in the dark.
It's too dark, so who cares?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Well, it's a new day, and we all always hope
you
that.
need a pin?
Thanks, Alice.
Thanks, Alice.
Where are my chocolate peanuts? I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Thank you, Alice. Well, it's a new day, and even though we all hope that the day will be perfect, there is a high chance that things happen. I mean, that's just life. Different complications and issues that we have to deal with on a daily. But a great reminder from David Jeremiah this morning that when we live in a way that is worthy of Christ and when we put Him first, it takes some complications of our life out of it.
Lord, help me to live my life today in a way that's worthy of the truth that I am a citizen of heaven. And if we were to do that, it would take a lot of complication out of how life is lived. When we live for Christ, when we walk with Him, when we process life through a mind of Christ, we are uniquely different from all the world around us, as uniquely different as were the Romans surrounded by the Greek culture. But when men and women see that, it makes an impact on them. Have you ever noticed, if you work in a secular place, and most of us here in this room do, they give us grief all the time. They know we're Christians. Maybe you carry your Bible to work. What a brave thing to do. Or they hear you having conversations with other Christians and they kind of look at you. Maybe they make some strange remarks. But here's what I know. When trouble comes, yours is the first door they knock on. Why is that? Because the evidence of Christ in your life and the way you live is it's a reminder to them of something different. And we may not think we need something different when things are going well, but when things start to go south on us, we need an anchor. So Paul says, what you do most of all, live in a way that honors the Lord.
Yes, in such a way that honors the Lord. And what is our little thing? Did you do something kind today, or what is it?
The Set a Good Example Day?
Set a Good Example Day. There you go.
And like you're talking about attitude, I mean, I know this is not exactly what David Jeremiah is saying, but close. You know, you put Christ first, and He's not going to take all your troubles away, but He's going to make a way for you to get through them.
There you go. All right, good morning to you. Let's look at some of the top stories. There's so many of them. We have a variety of them today, but we'll just slowly work our way through them. I bring this story to you only because I think you need to be on the outlook. The legacy media, I guess that's a nice way of saying the other guys. They went from the dominant media to the, what were they called? All these various things.
Well, yeah, what was the mainstream?
Mainstream, then the dominant media, and I don't know how they came up with legacy media, but...
I think it's just kind of something of the past that used to be great.
Well, anyway, they're trying their best to find some traction, but so part of their narrative lately is to say that everything that President Trump and Elon Musk are doing is starting to backfire, and the citizens don't like it. So they've been going to these town hall meetings that some of these Congress people are holding, and they're seeing people stand up and fight back, okay, and say, we don't like the push. So see, they're kind of standing up and yelling and screaming. Well, we come to find out they're plants.
Yeah, paid actors.
And what's happening here is that the left is getting radical groups to come into these town hall meetings and disturb. Now, I can tell you this, when I was chairman, I ran into this stuff, and you really don't believe that it happens until it happens, and then you realize that the other side is so bent, they are so determined that they'll go in and do stuff like this. This does not represent the core of the people. This is a bad thing that was a setup at a town hall meeting. And they come to find out that the person who was in charge of this is a sharp leftist activists that went out and got all the radicals and brought them into a town hall meeting. So I think we need to be aware of what the left is doing now, and that's their next trick, to show that all the changes with Doge seems to be backfiring. It's not being backfiring. Now, don't get me wrong. It's got its problems and challenges, but it's not to the level where people think it is.
Yeah, well, and you know, speaking of legacy media, the trust used to be so much higher, and
it's gone.
Well, it's gone, but maybe we overtrusted media before when we watched the nightly news and we believed everything they said.
Right.
These days, you can't. I'm not saying that before they were totally truthful, probably not. But these days, you hear something on the news or you see a town hall, and before you would trust journalists to investigate, these days you can't even do that.
No, and I've also determined, because our industry, this news business industry, has changed so much, it really boils down to this. People go to a personality they like to hear it said the way they want it said. That's basically how it's done. You have to have the discernment to figure out if what they're telling you is true or not, or how biased it may be. And that's the challenge today. All right, the other story is the sanctuary cities and sanctuary states continues to be an interesting dilemma for ICE. You've had me get some great people on. I had John O'Connor on yesterday talking about this very issue. What role does ICE have coming into a sanctuary state or a sanctuary city and enforcing the law? Well, in the meantime, New York sanctuary city has opened up a 2,200 male migrant shelter only. Now, they've closed others down. They took over a warehouse, 275,000 square foot warehouse in New York, and they're bringing over in 2,000 illegal male migrants to house them there, and the citizens in the area are coming unglued. Now, this is going to be a challenge for ICE. On the other hand, it could be the gathering spot where they just go in and make all kinds of arrests. But the struggle between ICE and cities and states is yet to be determined. And here's going to be a classic example, but the neighborhood is saying, why are you doing this? We don't want it.
Why are they doing this? The election is passed. You know, last year we talked about how one of the reasons they're bringing all these migrants could be for the votes.
Right.
I mean, obviously this was not the last election. There is another one in 2 years, then in 4. Is that still the reason, or is this just out of principle, we're going to do what we always did?
Well, look, I think we need to understand that the left believes in what they believe in as much as you and I are believers in Christ. It's their religion, and they are committed to it. And they want this in spite of what the citizens want. So, but at the end of the day, I believe the citizens have the power if they understand they have the power. How do you do it? You vote the mayor out. You vote the city council out. You vote the governor out. And the more the left is going against the general will of the people, they're painting themselves into a corner. This will be a campaign issue for people in that district. And it should be.
Yeah.
It should be. So the other story that's interesting, back to Doge and Elon Musk, frustration at Elon Musk spills over after a closed door meeting with GOP Republican leaders in the House. Now, look, I think there's two sides of this story that are interesting. Side one is, I think that perhaps Elon Musk and the president need to slow down and keep Congress informed of what they're doing, because those people have to go home and live with it. And if they're not pre-informed, it's a little embarrassing. And so I also would like to see Elon Musk tone it down a little bit. He's doing a great job, but be careful here that your pride doesn't get out in front of you. But on this flip side of this, America's had enough of the nonsense and the heavy spending, and they're saying, baloney with it, keep on going. So it's kind of a little, it's a little divide even among conservatives, how it's being done versus why it's being done.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, Alina Habba was a counselor for the President Trump, went on Fox and talked about a little bit of the struggle here, and yet I think defended it very well. And here's what she had to say.
It's absurd to say that this is an outrage. It's absurd. It's a result of a generation of pure, frankly, laziness, of excuses and unaccountability, and we're done with that now. President Trump is one of the hardest working individuals I have ever met in my life. Actually, I correct that. He is the hardest working person I've ever met in my life, and he expects the same from the American people and the people that were selected, appointed by him, or paid by taxpayer dollars, because it's his responsibility for us to be responsible to them and answer to them, and that's what we have to do. I think there's a lot of people here, right? So you have to remember there's so many departments. Other departments are saying, you know, don't answer if there's this information, which is a completely valid thing, but you have to answer. You have to answer and say what you've done. The problem is one thing. We have people that can't answer. It's very simple. How can you not answer? You and I work hard. If we go to work within the first 5 minutes, we could probably give 5 things that we've done at work, and I'd hope so. So my response is very simple. The president is not unkind. He's not being unfair, but he wants a response. Now, if you need an extra day to do it, God bless, but you're going to do it. He was very clear also that if you don't, there will be repercussions. That has not changed.
I think this all hinges off that Elon Musk has come back to some of these places and say, I want to report on what you do. And it's now being received as being intrusive, illogical, that you're in my space, all this and that. I'll tell you what, if you got a memo from your boss and said, I'd like you to respond to this memo in 24 hours and you didn't do it, goodbye.
Right. In private sector, that's something that takes place all the time. And federal employees, they work for us, so they should have similar, if not bigger, accountability. And Elon Musk, he has great track record. He's a very successful, very smart businessman. So the fact that he's doing it is very intriguing. Perhaps the methods could be altered a little bit. But some say, I listened to Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, he said that let him do it, let him go deeper, because this has to be done to our government, and we want to do it once. We don't want to do something now and then come back and redo it again. Dig up all the dirt, clean up all the ranks and files, and go after all the departments. Pentagon would be an interesting one to see what's going on there.
It's coming.
Yeah. So do it, and then let's go back to being a great country that we are.
Well, the other thing is, look, a lot of these people have never made a payroll. They've never read a balance sheet. They have no idea what it is to run anything that requires an ROI. They've been on the government fat chain for a long time. They want a beanbag and 10 coffee breaks and work from home in their pajamas.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and get paid for it. And that has been the gravy train for all these years. And now this nonsense has caught up. And you're going to have to grow up and be responsible. And if you don't like it, sorry. But the only thing I can say is that if we didn't have this kind of a shakeup in this country, and if you could just for a moment look at the United States as a company going bankrupt. This is what you do to fix the problem. I have had budget crunches here. We're a small little mini little ministry among the big fishes in the pond, okay? But there have been moments in running this place I have had to stop and say no and cut some things because that's the way it is. There's no grant out there to keep me going. So these people now have to wake up, and this is what President Trump was hired to do. The only thing I can say to Elon Musk, put the chainsaw down. I understand that, but it's a little arrogant, and you need to come back and realize this is serious business. We're running a country here, and you're dealing with people's lives. Be a little bit more respectful. I don't like the chainsaw thing. That's just me. Send me an email. I'll give it the I'll give it the blame.
I'll take it.
But I just like to see a little bit more decorum in this, even though I totally agree with what's going on. It has to happen. So, all right, good morning to you. It's nice to have Polina back, and we don't care where Jerry is now. He's gone, and that's just the way it is. We'll be right back.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Each of us has just one life to live. Our life should count. It should matter. It should have purpose. And frankly, it should be amazing.
On The Next Turning Point, Dr. David Jeremiah reveals how to claim the vibrant and abundant life God has for you. In his series, A Life Beyond Amazing, 9 decisions that will transform your life today, right here on this station.
Weekends on the Dove TV.
Welcome back, and delighted to have Paulina back with me this morning.
Nice to be
and
here.
Just to let people know that she's still part of the family. You know, she's just a little bit of a prodigal out there right now, but I'm going to let her go. She'll come back.
It's very biblical, yes. It's good to be back. Thank you.
Anyway, good morning to you. 23 past the hour. A couple of backyard things here, actually state regional things. Contractors are going to go ahead and sue the governor in our state. Why? Because when you do something for the state, the governor reached out and said, you have to be a union worker. And boy, that's not going over well. So there's a lot of remodeling going on in state buildings. There's construction, there's remodels, there's maintenance and all this stuff. So she signs an executive order that you have to be unionized.
So basically, if you win a contract to work on a government building, now you have to join the union? Is that what you're saying?
Your workers do, I guess. This is really something because they're questioning whether or not she has the authority to do this. But my concern is, wait a minute, Governor, why aren't you looking for the best price? Why are you taking the bid and blowing it apart? You know, so I don't know where this goes. I would hope that this gets challenged, and with all due respect, I hope she loses. Because a lot of private contractors can do things a whole lot better and cheaper than unionized people, and so we'll see where this goes.
Well, and if the waste we've seen on a national scale any indication of what happens on state levels, then we can only imagine what kind of kickbacks and deals are being made. I'm not implying any of the deals that were made, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that comes up.
Well, you make a great point. So anyway, this is going to be challenged. It's going to go to one of the circuit courts here. Marion County Circuit Court is going to take a look at this, and we'll see if the governor has overstepped her authority. So we'll see what happens. The other thing that's happening is our governor, Tina Kotek. Now, this is interesting because, did you read The Art of the Deal? Okay. It's an interesting book. It's President Trump's book. He wrote it years ago. And the first half of the book, it's pretty narcissistic.
It is.
But you get into the second part of the book and you start realizing how he does business. Now, a lot of people don't like the way he does it. I get all that. Here's the point. He's a deal maker. And he throws out all of these, we're not going to pay for this, we're not going to do this, we're cutting this funding off. And yes, it's got a lot of people up in arms, but it's also working. Our governor got on an airplane and went to Washington, D.C. to sit down and talk with people. And that's the way it should be done. She goes to Washington, she meets with people at the Bonneville Power Administration, over the Bonneville Power Administration, about some of the jobs that would be cut there, sits down with the people, starts to negotiate, and guess what? Now the things are starting to come back to the center for negotiation. The other one was, she ends up meeting with our senator there. They just happen to be pretty blue people, but nonetheless, she comes down. Now they're working to reestablish the grants to help fight forest fires. this is the way it should be done.
Yeah.
So I want to say to the governor, thank you for getting in an airplane and going back there and doing it. Sit down at the table, let's talk, let's get this done. And a lot of things that were threatened, that's how you get the ball moving, that's how you get everybody up in arms, and that's how, quite frankly, you either push them in the corner of defense or you bring them to the table for negotiation. She decided to go to the table and negotiate. And quite frankly, this is her job. She should go and be an advocate for the state. And she's doing that. And it looks like some of the grants that were being threatened to being cut off will probably be reestablished, especially on the West when it relates to forest fires. We need that desperately.
Well, good.
Good, yeah. All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's happening. N-I-S-E. No, N-I-C-E.
N-I-S-E? Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's nice. There is a system offshore, but it doesn't impact us, and there's even a big one behind that. But they're doing what they call the Leon Hunsaker break, and that's not a dance. It's just that these systems come right to our state line, and then they split. And this one is going to go north of us. So for the next several days, we should have some nice weather, but we could see some rain back in the forecast quite a few days down the road, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, on Monday, Joy Reid, one of the hosts at MSNBC, has announced that she is didn't see the actual announcement, so I don't know what she said, but the channel is going, the network is going through a lot of changes, and so her show was canceled. She's not going to be doing the 7 o'clock, the readout anymore, so she announced that on Monday. There's been a lot of reaction to whether it's a good thing, a bad thing. Well, one of her colleagues, Rachel Maddow, decided to take it to the airwaves and do a monologue on air during her slot, and basically call out her bosses, call them racist, and tell them that this is a mistake to fire her colleague.
7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. There is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague. It is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got count them, two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows.
All right, so there's a lot we can discuss. The one question I had for you, Perry, is you're an employer. Here's someone who's dissatisfied with the decision of the bosses, and instead of going up to their office, knocking on the door and saying, I disagree with you, you fired a friend of mine and a really good anchor, she goes and she makes it public. If you were her boss, would you fire her?
Immediately.
And that answers my question.
She fell on her own sword, and the only thing, you got to understand something about this business. The reason that Reid was let go, or her show canceled, no ratings. No ratings, no money. And for
Rachel
to come on the show and turn this into some kind of a racist rant on television, that is literally biting the hand that feeds you. I would walk on the set and walk her out the door.
Yeah.
This is why MSNBC will go down. MSNBC is owned by Comcast. It's for sale. It will go down. And CNN's going to go down. You cannot have these numbers and make money and pay the salaries you're paying these people. And that was a racial rant against their boss. My point's been made.
Yeah. Well, Rachel Maddow actually, so the first 100 days of Trump presidency, she's on the show 5 days a week. Her regular schedule is just Mondays.
Right.
She gets paid $25 million a year.
Yeah.
Whether it's $25 million or $5,000, whatever you're making, like you mentioned, that's the hand that feeds you. They're the ones who are signing her check. And she does this kind of what she probably feels a very brave act to go and speak out like that. Well, number one, you are a white woman sitting there telling us that they are firing black people. Step down. That's one solution.
Yeah.
And two, you're one of the reasons why these shows are being canceled, because for so many years, you've been lying to your audience and you've been losing ratings.
Right.
You know, you've contributed to the downfall of your network. So there's so many layers of where you could discuss, but I wanted to get your take exactly on the boss dynamics, because I felt it was so disrespectful and so out of line, and the kind of a trend that we're seeing in our culture with the federal employees too, where they completely disregard any requests from the top.
The only way you could restore, if MSNBC doesn't remove Rachel Mondale for that take, more's coming, because you just told the staff this is acceptable. So,
and you know what though? That clip that we just played probably been watched more than the whole show for weeks, if not months. So maybe the employers may be like, you know what, we're getting more ratings when our employees are unhappy. It could be a move. But yeah, I get your point.
I think, first of all, it's a rogue employee that shouldn't be doing this. Secondly, it's content that is on its way down and out. And third, it's on a network that cannot exist much longer. So it's no longer news, it's opinion news. It's opinion shows what it is. We do it too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say we're righteous in all of this, but the point being is that was so out of line. I literally would have walked on the set and pulled her off. Because now, here's the problem. We don't have it here. You're not, I'm not. We're not under contract. And a lot of these big people are under contract, but I think every contract has a right to terminate somebody, no matter what the reason is. You just have a contract to earn certain kind of money. I mean, remember when Tucker Carlson went out the back door? A lot of the people that have gone out of Fox, okay, for whatever the reason, never did that.
They just left.
They just slipped away, okay? Why? Because you want to have a future. Okay.
And they do. That's the interesting thing. A lot of the people
who's going to hire her now?
Yeah.
You know, and who's going to hire Reed? It's obvious who they are. It's obvious what they believe. They're activists for all the radical stuff. Fine, that's fine. You're just going to have to go find your podcast and see if you can have 3 or 4 listeners, because you're bringing the network down.
Yeah.
Anyway, good morning to you. Wow, that was pretty powerful. Wow, you took the peanuts away. She hid them back here.
Because when you eat them, then it's like in your teeth and your
I know,
hair.
and it does my throat some number. All right.
They're good, though. They're good.
We'll be right back.
There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation, and it's beautiful.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Good morning to you. 24 minutes before the hour, and there's a lot going on in the Middle East, and of course, Russia and Ukraine. By the way, just a few hours ago, there is talk now that President Trump will go to Moscow and sit down with Putin. And I guess the plan is, it's kind of like what Nixon did when he went to China. He's going to see if he can wean Moscow away from China. And that's one of the reasons why he's going to Moscow, but also hopefully he can end the war. But the point being is, the president's going to go to Moscow. When's the last time a president been to Moscow?
It's a great question. We'll have to look into it. But what you mentioned, weaning Russia off China and kind of redirecting their attention, it's already been happening. We can see already how Russia's been communicating more like Europe, geared towards the mineral deal in Ukraine that's being brokered right now. So things are shifting and changing.
It's shifting big. So
I mean, the end goal is peace.
The end bid, stop the dying, stop the killing, but I was trying to think, who was the last president with the Russia deal? We'll look that up. But anyway,
we'll have the answer for you after this.
All right, let's check in with CBN Newswatch.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Going to begin this half hour in Israel, where more than 100,000 people line the roads today as the funeral cars carrying the bodies of slain former hostages Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir Bibas made their way to the cemetery in the southern part of the country, not far from their home. Shiri Bibas and her two young boys, Ariel and Kfir, were abducted on October 7, 2023, and taken to Gaza. They were brutally murdered by Hamas. The crowd carried Israeli flags and orange balloons depicting the color of the children's hair, now a symbol of honor and shared grief for the family. Singing could be heard at certain points as the procession made its way through the area. New reports say Israel will be more than 600 Palestinian prisoners Thursday who were originally set to be released last weekend. That release was held up for several days, a protest by Israel for Hamas's mistreatment of the Israeli hostages. And Hamas is expected to turn over the bodies of 4 more hostages at the same time as a fulfillment of phase 1 of the ceasefire deal. Want to turn now to the long-range picture of what's happening in Israel and what some say is a sign of the end times. Here, years ago, the arrival of 5 red heifers in Israel attracted global attention. Today, those cows are in ancient Shiloh. CBN's Chris Mitchell explains the significance of the historic event.
Here in Shiloh, first time after 2,000 years, we have real kosher red heifers, which is really exciting.
Mariah Shapir is the manager of the visitor center at Ancient Shiloh and explains why the red heifers are so important.
In the Bible, it says when a person wants to enter the temple, which is called the House of Life, he has to go through a process using ashes of the red heifer, meaning that the red heifers are actually the key to the temple.
Shapira says that process is for purification, to cleanse someone from death.
So a person that got in contact with death, either in a funeral or in a hospital, and he wants to enter the temple, which is called the House of Life, full of the presence of God, has to go through this process. And the process is the priest used to take the ashes of the red heifer, mix it with water that comes from a spring, life water. He's actually taking the source of death, mixing it with source of life, and these together become the purifying water.
Jewish tradition maintains that the red heifer ashes are needed to rebuild the third temple. Some Christians believe a third temple would pave the way for the end times. Even Hamas reportedly blamed the red heifers in part for their invasion on October 7th, because the Al-Aqsa Mosque would be in danger if the heifers were used to build a third temple. The animals are also mentioned in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "This is the statute of the law which the Lord has commanded, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, that they bring you an unblemished red heifer, in which there is no defect, and on which a yoke has never been mounted. And you shall give it to Eleazar the priest, and it shall be brought outside the camp and be slaughtered in his presence." To be selected, these qualifications must be met. Be an adult cow with reddish-brown hair, no hairs of a different color, no blemishes, and never used for any other purpose. These are the 5 red heifers out here in Shiloh. 2 have already been disqualified, but you only need 1 to qualify for the ceremony for the purification for the temple. This area is where Hannah prayed for a son, where Samuel served the Lord, and Joshua divided the land between the 12 tribes.
The place where many stories of the Bible occurred. And today we also have here the red heifers, which is something new.
Shiloh has so much significance. It was the spiritual capital of Israel for 369 years.
During our visit, Bible teacher Dr. Todd Fink brought his group to see the red heifers.
This is huge. This is huge, and the one gal that was giving us the tour, she said that part of the reason why Hamas invaded is because of these red heifers. And according to prophecy, these red heifers are significant from the time of Israel's history. They say that only 9 have been killed for these ashes. And so for these to be here in Shiloh here, and for that to fit in with what appears to be prophecy on the horizon, we're living in monumental days, unbelievable times.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Ancient Shiloh.
Well, this is interesting. I've been following this. The interesting thing about it is the red heifer is there, which is significant. It certainly is biblical. The question is, are these the purest ones? And I don't know how you determine that.
I don't know, but they're so cute.
They're cute.
Yeah.
You like looking at red cows.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Good morning to you. Let's take a look at the weather because it is beautiful no matter where you are. If it's the upper end of the state, beautiful. McMinnville, all the way up through Vancouver, sunny and 60. Wow. And if you're traveling up and down I-5 through the Willamette Valley from Eugene to Albany, Salem, Albany, again, upper 50s, around 60 degrees, a little fog, and then sunshine. Central Oregon, over on the east side of the Cascade, Prineville, 57 and sunny. Bend, Redmond, and Sun River, mid-50s and sunny. Boise, 53 and sunny. Just beautiful on the east side of the Cascades. The coast, well, if you're over there, happy day. Coos Bay, 64. Port Orford and Brookings in the upper 50s. Crescent City, 59. All with beautiful sunshine. A great day for a walk on the beach. Southern Oregon, our own backyard. Here it is. The Spring Tees, 64 for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. Klamath Falls will see 54 and sunny skies. And then Wairika, 59. And sunny skies, just beautiful. And then, of course, the Mid-Valley down through California starting to heat up. Redding, 72. Chico, Marysville, Yuba City, Sacramento in the upper 60s. Again, mostly sunny weather, just beautiful. And the Bay Area, listen to this, up in the wine country, Santa Rosa, Napa, 73 degrees. The city today will see 69. And then if you're down in South Bay and over in East Bay, could be 77 degrees. And that's a snapshot of your Wednesday weather. And there's a picture of Mount Ashland. It should be open today. Mm-hmm. And for you spring skiers, what a day to go. Wow, yeah, it's going to be just gorgeous up there.
Well, let's take a look at what took place in history on this day. In 1974, Nike received a U.S. patent for its waffle trainer running shoes. And here's Jerry with more.
Before Air Jordans and Just Do It, Nike was a small sneaker company founded at the University of Oregon. Bill Bowerman, a graduate of Medford High School and the coach of the University of Oregon track team, with Phil Knight, one of his runners, were unsatisfied with the available running footwear. They tinkered with shoes to make them lighter and faster, replacing canvas and leather uppers with nylon and adding a distinctive wedged heel. Their big breakthrough, however, came from the Bowerman family breakfast table. University of Oregon had decided to replace its cinder track with an artificial one, and Bowerman wanted to design a shoe that would grip the artificial track without spikes. One morning over breakfast, his wife's waffle iron provided the inspiration for the new shoes. Barbara Bowerman recalled that as one of the waffles came out, he said, "You know, by turning it upside down where the waffle part would come in contact with the track, I think that might work." Bowerman immediately began experimenting by pouring polyurethane into the waffle iron, creating the first prototypes of Nike's waffle sole. The waffle iron, a wedding present, was ruined, but the first Nike waffle trainer was born. Bowerman sewed the waffle soles onto his running shoes, which became a hit. His patent application described an athletic shoe suitable for use on artificial turf. He and Knight sold their shoes at track meets across the West Coast before expanding nationwide. Their advertising campaign featured the slogan, "Made famous by word-of-foot advertising," and touted the waffle trainer as the classic running shoe. After the runaway success of the Nike waffle trainers, Bowerman and Knight continued to create popular new athletic shoes. Their innovative design, creative marketing, and eye for fashion launched Nike from a small regional business to a global behemoth. In 2011, Bill Bowerman's son and daughter-in-law unearthed the original waffle iron. It had been buried in the yard on their property in Fossil, Oregon since the 1970s. It was in horrible shape, according to Bowerman's daughter-in-law, but Nike executives were thrilled with the discovery. The waffle iron is now displayed at Nike headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon.
So, you ever put syrup on your Nikes?
No. I don't even put syrup on my
waffle?
turkey and waffle or anything that you guys put syrup on.
Well, the other thing is waffles and chicken and waffles.
That's a thing for a lot of people.
That's a new thing too. Yeah. So, well, it's a new old thing.
Yeah, but it's a pretty cool historic fact there for all of us Oregonians.
Right here in our backyard.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Well, President Trump has been shaking things up and coming up with some interesting ideas, and one of them he announced yesterday after signing some executive orders. It's called a gold card. Now, you've probably heard the word and the term green card that allows people to stay in the country, enjoy the benefits, pay taxes. I was a holder of a green card for 11 years or so before becoming a citizen. Well, now President Trump came up with an idea of a gold card. Here's a little bit of his comments.
We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks out? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
So the EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
It takes a person with a business mind to come up with that idea to actually figure out a way for a green card to benefit the United States. Now, the EB-5 that they're mentioning there, it is an investor green card program that is currently in place. It was reauthorized in 2022. And just like it was mentioned, it allows investors to bring business into the United States and receive the green card status that allows you to work, to live in the United States. You can vote, you can do certain things, but you are here on a permanent basis. Now, they want to replace it with what they're calling gold card. Probably need Congress authorization, so it's not an executive order to just change things. But an interesting idea, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I think the good thing about it is it keeps track of people and gives them opportunity. And yet serves the need of the United States. I've always said we also, in agriculture, have to figure out a way to bring the workers here and allow them to work and go back if they want to. They have to figure that out. So Well, who knows? This is a guy that's hired and fired a lot of people and has dealt with a lot of unions.
Right. And the assumption is if you can pay $5 million as an entry into the Green Card Club, and not necessarily for yourself, a company may want to bring someone as smart as Elon Musk from another country and they pay on their behalf to bring that person to work here. So there are different ways to use it. But the assumption is if someone is able to make such a large contribution money, financially, they'll probably employ people, they'll probably bring jobs or create jobs, they'll pay taxes, and they will be vetted. So it's not like you just an oligarch who pays $5 million and you in. That's not what they're saying. There will be a vetting process. And again, we're already doing a lottery, so why not allow some rich people?
I would have paid a gold card for you.
I was going to say, it would have made it so much easier. Remember all the paperwork we had to do for me to come here? You could have just
went
paid
to Mexico
$5 million.
and Canada, right?
For a day, yeah. It was a fun trip on the beach.
We did everything we did to keep her in the country.
You could have just paid $5 million.
We lost Steve Best.
We did, yeah.
And now, a gold card probably would have, but we had to send him back to England.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to check back with him to see how things are going.
He's doing fine.
It's his. Oh, he doesn't have a birthday this year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He missed his birthday. He's a leap year baby. By the way, he and his mother were both born on leap year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interesting thing. Many years apart. All right, good morning to you. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Owning a small business is kind of a big deal. State Farm agent Rory Wold can help you find the right coverage at the right price. Now's the right time to call Rory for a quote.
It's your time to fly. It's your journey. Let's make it friendly. We are your airport. Fly MFR.
The Dove Radio is your 24-hour source for encouragement and information. There's something for everyone. Teaching, news, and music. 3 unique stations in one. Solid Bible teaching from trusted teachers of the faith you can lean on. Charles Swindoll, Greg Laurie, Charles Stanley, Dr. David Jeremiah, and Rick Boya. Relevant news, information, and talk you can trust through these challenging times with Mornings on the Dove, Focus Today, Janet Parshall, and Focus on the Family. Plus, contemporary and classic music with a message of hope, afternoons and late nights on the Dove. Listen to the Dove Radio Network throughout Southern and Central Oregon on the Dove app and online at thedove.us, on your smart speaker, in your hand, in your car. Encouraging and informative wherever you go. The Dove Radio, something for everyone.
All right, good. Welcome back. Polina's here. That's all.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Jerry, wherever you are, stay there.
No, I think Melinda and I will object to that statement. But enjoy your trip, Jerry.
He's having fun.
Yeah.
All right. In the meantime, I had John O'Connor on yesterday. Thank you for finding him. I did bug him a little bit yesterday because I told him he got to start here. Now I see him all over the place.
I know. Yeah, he's one of those Dove stars.
Yeah, he's a former federal prosecutor. So anyway, I asked him if those in the DOJ and the FBI who were part of the weaponization of their agencies would ever be held accountable. In other words, would they ever go backwards and bring those people forward? And here's what he had to say.
The only way they'll be held accountable, I mean, it's too late in the day for any criminal prosecutions, and I think that went the way of the dodo bird with John Durham. He couldn't, these guys covered their tracks. They're excellent at it. They investigate white-collar crimes, and so while they're committing them, they know how not to leave a paper trail. There's not a piece of paper between McCabe and Comey as they're plotting out this Russian collusion hoax. They knew the whole thing was phony and that they were doing a lot of phony things. So, but here's where Patel and Pam Biondi are going to do very well. The way you punish somebody within that system is simply reassignment. If you have a staff position, if you have the head of a section within the Justice Department, Pam Bondi just takes you and makes you a staff lawyer and puts the person in charge of the division, somebody that's more fair and down the middle, doesn't have to be.
Okay, we'll get more of that, but that's what's going to happen. People who have been part of the weaponizing of the department, who are still there, they're going to be put on the parking lot committee.
There you go.
That's how you get rid of them. All right, we'll take a quick break.
What a wake up to so many people that there are consequences.
It can be puzzling assembling all the right pieces for your insurance needs in retirement. I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Guiding you through the stormy seas of insurance, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Romans 1:20 tells us God's power is revealed in creation. Yet 2 Corinthians 4:4 reminds us that Satan has blinded many to the gospel. At the Life Outdoors, we've seen the truth of God, His eternal power and divine nature displayed in every mountain and stream. Follow along and let's wake the wild within. The mountains don't lie. Where there's truth, there's Jesus.
Enjoy the Dove. Help spread the word. Tell someone who needs the love of Jesus about the Dove's encouraging and informative programming. Spread the word.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. Look who I found.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Paulina's back with us today, and I am delighted for that, as Jerry has the week off. If you see him, tell him, don't hurry back. Anyway, nice to see you. How are you?
Of course. Good. How are you doing? A lot of changes here.
A lot of changes. Things that we should have done a long time ago. We're slowly making the changes, and it's a little time consuming, but it's good.
Yeah,
good.
I see my cubicle is still there.
Not for long.
I was going to say, it's probably time to wrap it up.
You want to go take a picture of it so you can remember it?
Oh, I remember. It's embedded in my memory for the rest of my life.
I know. Good to see you. For those who don't know, Paulina's still part of the family here in a new capacity. She still is the person who gets me all the great guests on Focus Today. And I always get the question, how did you get that person? I always tell them, I don't. Paulina does. And I don't know how you do that. But she's earned her way inside the inner circle of who to get.
Job security.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
Oh, we've had Focus Today since 2012. Yeah. 13 years we've been doing it. And it's so interesting to look at the files because we have all of them, you know. We have the Google Drive and all those folders. Just see the caliber of guests, how it's changed. But, you know, some of the people we've had for all these years, I mean, think about Gene Getz.
Yeah.
He's been with us forever. And then, like you mentioned, some of the guests, they've gotten their start, so to speak, on the Dove, and they were almost nobody when we got them, and now they're rising stars.
They're all over the place.
Yes.
Well, anyway, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
She's helped filling in this week. We got a lot going on in the news. There always is. And the headlines are just, you wait 3 minutes and it'll be a new one. So we got that coming up. The weather is, we're in for several days of spring teas, and we'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on. Anything special today?
Yes, it's National Letter to an Elderly Day. On February 26th, you're encouraged to put pen to paper and write an elder you know something. It can be a card, it can be a letter. Just acknowledge them and let them know that you care, you miss them, you would love to hear from them. Now, of course, with the technology that we'll have available, it doesn't have to be an actual letter. You can send an email or a text message, which also works, but a letter is nice, and it's something they can hold and hold dear to their heart.
Are you surprised when you get something in the mail, like a letter?
I do, and I'm trying to incorporate it more into my
I really
business.
hope we get back to note writing and sending it in the mail. Even though I think Postal Service, by the way, that's something President Trump's looking at next. We'll probably go through an adjustment. You can't afford a 70-cent stamp or whatever it is anymore now.
Right.
You know?
But it does add such personal touch that you just don't get anymore. It's also National Set a Good Example Day. So I don't know how you do it intentionally, but maybe just keep living a life, putting Christ first, and maybe there's someone out there who can use your example in dealing with life and approaching life's difficulties. So a reminder for you. And then finally, pistachios. We're celebrating those nuts today. They are delicious. They're also very what would be the word? Allergenic?
They could be allergenic to a lot of people. You got to be careful because this is one nut that if you are nut sensitive, it could cause you some problems. But I like chewing them. They're kind of hard to get out, but they're okay.
They're good, and they've been around since biblical times. Here in the United States, they've been around since 1880s, and they are an excellent source of vitamin B6, copper, manganese, and a good source of protein, fiber, thiamine, and phosphorus. So have some nuts, be healthy.
We still have Barbara sent us these nuts yesterday, because yesterday was National Chocolate Covered Nut Day. And so she took peanuts and
chocolate covered peanuts. They are delicious. And it's kind of become a tradition for Barb to send them to us. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. This would count as your letter to an elderly check. So you don't have to send one anymore. And I'm not implying that anyone here is an elderly, but I would just say the Dove. The Dove, yes, yes. Anyway, have one, Perry.
Okay.
Enjoy.
No, I will. I'll take one. Okay. Anyway, good morning to you. Let's check in with Jerry's twin brother for the weather. Northern part of the state, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all was sunny weather and popping into the low 60s today. And the same thing if you're traveling through the Willamette Valley from Salem on into Albany down to Corvallis, Eugene. Just beautiful. Could see some patches of fog, but turning into a beautiful day, mid to upper 50s in the Willamette Valley. Central Oregon now going to get some sunshine. Prineville, 57, Bend and Sun River in the mid 50s. Mostly sunny weather, and over to Boise, 53 and sunny skies that way today. Looking good. The coast, sunny. Coos Bay, 64. Port Orford and Brookings in the upper 50s. Crescent City, 59, all with beautiful sunshine. Looking good. Southern Oregon, here we go. The spring tease is upon us. Grants Pass, Medford and Ashland, all in the mid-60s today. Mostly sunny weather. Klamath Falls, 54, and Wairika, 59. Sunshine. Down through the Central Valley, 72 already. And Redding, Chico, 69. Sacramento, Roseville, Marysville, all through there in the upper 60s, all with beautiful sunny skies. And the Bay Area is going to be fantastic. Santa Rosa and Napa in the low 70s. The city today will see 69 degrees. And are you ready for this? San Jose and East Bay, 77 degrees. Well, now there you go.
Look at that beautiful
we looked up there
sunrise.
and we didn't find Jerry up there, but he's on a hill like that.
He's somewhere.
I know where he
somewhere
is.
where it's really white.
Yeah.
And he's
A lot of
enjoying
downhill
himself.
action going on.
Yeah.
There he is.
Enjoy, Jerry. All right. Well, like any other pastor, Dr. David Jeremiah gets a lot of questions. People asking him, is this okay? Is that okay? Well, if you have some questions this morning, here's David Jeremiah answering all of them right here.
The citizens of Philippi were literally citizens of Rome, and their names were on the rolls in the city of Rome. He says to them, just as you are a colony of Rome 800 miles removed, you are also citizens of another place, a little further than 800 miles. You are citizens of heaven. He makes no apology for that, and on occasions in his writings, he uses the very term. In the 3rd chapter of Philippians, he says it this way: our citizenship is in heaven, from which we eagerly wait for the Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, as Paul writes to the Philippian believers about their heavenly citizenship, he exhorts them to allow their allegiance to heaven to affect the way they live their lives on this earth. Let your conduct be worthy of the gospel of Christ. Over the years as a pastor, I have been asked so many times, is this okay? Can a Christian do this? What about the casinos, Pastor? I get letters and emails and questions. So I want to answer them all today. Only let your conduct be worthy of the gospel of Christ. Run what you want to do through that grid and quit sending me emails.
Sounds like Perry.
You know, you get 2 or 3 of those a day, and you're kind of wiped out. You know, I will say this: I read letter. The only letter I don't read, emails. You know, when they come through, you know who they're coming from. You can pretty much figure it out. But I will, when I get a letter, and we get quite a few of them through the mail, I open them up, and the first thing I do is I look for a name. If I don't see a name, if they can't put a name to it, I just throw it away. I don't even read it. Because if you can't identify yourself on what you were saying, then why should I spend the time taking it seriously? And I get quite a few of those, you know, which is interesting. And
Do they upset you? Like, you know, some of the letters we get as feedback, you know, could be pretty criticizing and
I get
mean
those.
sometimes.
I value them. I really do. I got one the other day that, and I know kind of who this person is because they have sent me quite a few letters. And the theme, after a while when you get these letters, you see a theme, and the theme is they believe different than I do. Their ideology is different than mine. But I like reading them because I learn from them. And I may totally disagree with it, but I go ahead and read it. If somebody signs the letter, I will read it.
But do they upset you? Do you
At
get
times
shaken?
They do, yeah. Well, hey, I'm a human. I have feelings.
You are?
Some people don't think that. You think I have feelings?
I know you do.
Okay.
I know.
Well, anyway, where are we going? With the news, let's take a look here. And a couple of things going on. The backlash of people showing up at these town hall meetings of members of Congress, and this is starting to be a little bit of a concern. A congressperson will go home into their district, they'll hold a town hall meeting, and then all of a sudden, people in the audience start standing up and really railing against that congressperson who are against what DOGE is doing. The media has already been prompt to be there to film this, and what we come to find out now, these are plants. And so activist groups who are anti-anything conservative, and certainly anti-anything Trump and Doge and Elon Musk, will be planted in these town hall meetings. They stand up, they voice a negative opinion of what's going on. The media happens to be there. Of course, they were invited to be there. They film it and put it all over in the news, and the story is, see, most Americans disagree. No, this has been uncovered, and this is the way the left plays. So it's happening all over the country. And so just be aware of it, folks. Most of this is a plant. I never thought this was real until I dealt with it myself.
When you were in politics?
When I was chairman.
So you had people like that jumping up and protesting?
Well, the other thing that I did was when we were in a state convention, I was chairman for years, and when I was in a state convention, I didn't believe that the left would plant people in the Republican Party to go to a platform committee to change the plank.
Oh, actually rise in the party to be, wow.
So this is how, harmless as dove and curious as a snake. What is it? Be wise as a snake and harmless as a dove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if the roles were flipped and this was happening on the other side, which I wouldn't be surprised happens on both sides, but in this case we're seeing it this way. I can only imagine that the legacy media would profile some of these people to showcase the fact that they're paid actors, that they were brought there by Soros or someone else like that, and the whole premise and story is not true. Republicans don't spend time in it oftentimes. They just kind of move on. We cover it today, tomorrow it's old news. Do you think they should give it more time, energy, and resources, or move on? Like, should they go, we saw some of those people on the screen just now. Should they go and profile these people and make an example of them as paid actors? Or is that a waste of time?
Well, there's only so much time in the day, because by the time you do that, 3 other stories are broke. So that's the news cycle that we're in. I don't know. I think that everybody, let me rephrase that. The left thinks that the president now is going to be a dictator and go for revenge. No, he's he's brought on staff his people who are going to do the work for him, and they're not going to be revengeful. They want to reset the scales to being even. And in doing that, they're going to expose what the other side has done and let the embarrassment of their lies ruin their reputation. That'll be the price they pay. And they should.
Yeah.
Okay. Massive blue state in New York took a 275,000 square foot warehouse and converted it into a male-only migrant shelter. And the people in the neighborhood have come unglued. They don't like this. Well, they have shut other shelters down for illegals. Of course, you got to remember now, New York sanctuary city. They put 2,200 illegal male migrants into this shelter in New York in one of their districts, and the neighborhood is come unglued. Now,
I can imagine.
People, you need to understand something. You still have the power of the vote.
What happened to women?
I don't know. I don't know.
I wonder where they went,
So,
if they were there.
In the meantime, a little bit of frustration with Elon Musk. He went into a GOP closed-door meeting on the Capitol Hill, and some of the Republicans there are expressing concern that, hey, tell us what you're doing. We have to go home and defend this. Can you give us a heads up? And I think that's a legitimate complaint. If you're going to go after an agency and you see all this stuff, would you come tell us first so that we know what we're talking about when we go home? I would say personally, Elon, put the chainsaw down. I don't think that's a good image. Be a little bit more respectful for what's going on. You're doing a good job, but you're going to paint yourself into a corner here. Take this a little bit more seriously. But in the meantime, is there an alternative? And there really isn't. The country's in a mess. What do you do?
Yeah.
And so Alina Habba, she is the counselor to the president in so many ways, and she was on one of the shows defending this, and here's what she had to say.
It's absurd to say that this is an outrage. It's absurd. It's a result of a generation of pure, frankly, laziness, of excuses and unaccountability, and we're done with that now. President Trump is one of the hardest working individuals I have ever met in my life. Actually, I correct that. He is the hardest working person I've ever met in my life, and he expects the same from the American people and the people that were selected, appointed by him, or paid by taxpayer dollars, because it's his responsibility for us to be responsible to them and answer to them, and that's what we have to do. I think there's a lot of people here, right? So you have to remember there's so many departments. Other departments are saying, you know, don't answer if there's this information, which is a completely valid thing, but you have to answer. You have to answer and say what you've done. The problem is one thing. We have people that can't answer. It's very simple. How can you not answer? You and I work hard. If we go to work within the first 5 minutes, we could probably give 5 things that we've done at work, and I'd hope so. So my response is very simple. The president is not unkind. He's not being unfair, but he wants a response. Now, if you need an extra day to do it, God bless, but you're going to do it. He was very clear also that if you don't, there will be repercussions. That has not changed.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, and what do you expect? We've talked about it. People don't like change. No. And things are being shaken up. Things are being disrupted. You not only have to show up to work, you have to explain what it is that you're doing there.
We literally moved our coffee maker from over here to over here.
And we have protests outside.
Some staff are picketing out there, yes.
I wonder if they're paid actors.
Oh, it could be. I don't know.
All right, well, coming up, we're going to talk about so many other things, some news from our state, and also reactions to shakeups at other networks.
Thank you.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Paulina's here. Everybody's happy. Well, let's take some attention to our governor. The governor has a couple of things going on. Apparently, she's being sued, and she's being sued by a lot of contractors that are gotten jobs to do business for the state, and then she comes around and says, well, fine, but you have to use union workers. And this has created a real rub. And so there's a court case been filed there in Marion County Circuit Court saying that basically she's overstepped her authority. So I don't know if the governor can require an outside contractor to use union workers.
I don't know.
This is so if you bid a job and you get it, and then the governor comes back and says, well, you have to use outside workers, is the bid then adjusted for that? Probably not.
Did she, do you know the reasoning why she said it?
Well, she's pro-union.
Right.
So,
but she's also the governor of the state, and there are other people living in the state that are not part of the union, so you're supposed to be fair.
well, there you go. And she's showing a bias. And can she do that and govern for all the people? And I think they have a case here, so we'll see what happens. Because I think you can't show a bias in that way.
Now, the
and
union,
it's somewhat hypocritical, too. You know.
The union for contractors, that's the one we're talking about, right? It's obviously it's voluntary. Whoever wants to join, joins, pays some kind of
Well,
due.
it depends whether you're part of the Teamsters Union, Carpenters Union. I don't know the various unions. There could be local unions. There could be state unions. I don't know. But the fact that she's requiring union workers is showing a bias.
Right, that's
and I think that's going to be the problem.
Limits to a certain segment.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other part of it is, you know, President Trump says some wild and crazy things, and it causes a lot of uproar. But at the end of the day, people come to him.
He makes
well,
the deals.
In the meantime, with all of these threatening cuts to our state from the various savings, not only as a result of Elon Musk doing his thing, but just the president himself saying we're going to cut this out, we're going to cut that out. It brings people to the table. Well, our governor got on a plane and went to Washington, D.C. This is a good thing, and sat down with members of the administration to figure out how can we save some of the jobs at the Bonneville Power Administration. That needs to be done. But I still think there's going to be some cuts there. But this is good. You need to come and sit down and talk. Now, this is kind of a hard way to bring somebody to the table, but it works. And she ends up meeting with the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, about reestablishing and restarting the wildfire grants for the state of Oregon. This is a good deal. And I think some of these grants will be reinstated so that we have the money we need for another fire season. So I just want to say this is the job of being a governor. You go to Washington, you advocate for your state and the various things that you need to do. And if it took a hard memo to get the job done, then so be it.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you see the results, it's getting done. Do you think, just looking back at the last few years, are things getting better with wildfire management in Oregon?
I think the short answer is no. Now, I'm going to have Colleen Roberts on here a little bit because they want to change the wildfire map in Oregon. We'll talk about that. Look, if we don't start managing the forest better, this will continue to happen. So it's a two-edged sword. Fighting them is one thing, managing them is something else. And we have to attack this from both ways. So I'll talk to Commissioner Roberts about that today because she's right on. She's at the end of the spear here when it comes to that kind of stuff. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at Wall Street for a Wednesday morning. And thank you, Preston, over at the Smart Lawn. People, you're smart, you'll call him. By the way, tell all your clients to get a Smart Lawn. You don't have to mow it, you don't have to edge it, you don't have to water it, you don't have to fertilize it.
Can you use it? Can you step on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can play on it, you can play all day on it. That's what most of the Lithia driveway fields are, Smart Lawns down there.
And I bet it's also good for, like, I have a dog with a lot of allergies.
There you go.
That would be perfect.
Perfect. All right, Dow's up 110. Wow. The Nasdaq's up 175, and the S&P up almost 36. Good numbers. That pushed the gold down a few pennies, 29.17. Silver's right at $32 even, and crude oil did go down about 50 cents, $72.96 a barrel. So those are some of the numbers this morning. And by the way, the other thing is, you live over that way, have you been to the Twin Creek Ice Cream Parlor?
No.
Well, you need to go over there. It's right around the corner from where you live. What kind of?
Kind of. I mean, everything here is around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I didn't know.
Well, Preston's wife, Stacy, has that. And you can go in there, and it's great ice cream. They have a bunch of sundaes, but what I like is the mint chip.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, the weather is getting so nice that ice cream is kind of becomes part of it. Like
there you go.
You have to have it.
All right.
Yeah. Well, earlier this week, MSNBC has announced some changes to their lineup. Joy Reid's The Readout Show has been canceled, and no word to what this anchor is going to do next. But some of her colleagues weren't happy with the decision of their bosses. Rachel Maddow took it to their airwaves and did a monologue to address her bosses on air. tell them how racist they are and what a mistake they're making.
7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. There is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague. It is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows.
Wow.
Yeah. As a boss, what would be your reaction to one of us doing something like that?
Be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost walk on the set and escort her off and out the door.
I have a feeling that the management is not in that same building, possibly, so that wasn't, or maybe it's one of those high rises to where it took them time, but it would be interesting to see if they have the guts to do that, because they've been letting a lot of these anchors say nonsense. Obviously, shows are being canceled, so that's kind of a reaction, but what Rachel Maddow did there, knowing that these people are signing her $25 million a year check for doing one show a week, was pretty ballsy and very disrespectful.
Well, I think she look. This is if MSNBC is going to allow this, then they're looking for sensational TV, and anything goes. And they just told all their other employees, you can do the same thing. The Reid show got canceled because it wasn't doing anything. It was a low-rated show and going down. It wasn't holding any numbers. No ratings, no revenue. It's pretty simple as that. To turn it into a racist thing and call your employees racist and all this and that, Rachel should be gone today. Don't expect it to happen, but I do expect Comcast to sell MSNBC and probably will go away or get revamped somehow. But that network is on the slide, and CBS is in serious trouble. CNN can't hold over 500,000 in an average quarter hour. This whole branch of media that has turned into really, I don't know, propaganda television is failing. It's falling apart. Now you have the FCC looking into deals, especially CBS. And if the FCC gets involved in that and files a fine, and then CBS also has to write a check to Donald Trump, but that'll probably be settled. They're looking into a radio deal that was a fast track deal. All of this is coming to a head, but on that particular thing, I would have walked in the studio. I would have walked her out of the studio and out of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should have done.
I would have too, but it's almost a trend, almost a culture shift we're seeing, where the lack of respect to your employer, and I'm not just saying because you're my boss, but you look at what's happening with federal employees who are being asked to report on their productivity, and they're just totally ignoring that or looking at it as being some kind of disrespectful. No, you work for me. And if I ask you to do something, you do it. I mean, that's just how it's done. There's no disrespect or any of that.
Well, we'll see what they do.
Yeah.
I don't expect Rachel Maddow to go because her husband. They do this husband thing and wife thing on the air. I don't know where that's going to go, but
well,
some of these networks. If I had the money, I don't. But if I did, I would buy one of them just like that, and I could fix it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't. God's saving me from something.
You can raise money.
Peggy just fell over. She went over. So.
Peggy, I'm going to text to make sure you're okay.
That was a joke, honey. That was a joke.
Yeah, we're not buying it.
All right, we'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. 50 years ago, public transportation laid the foundation for growth in Southern Oregon. These early buses didn't just carry passengers, they carried progress, connecting communities and fueling dreams. Today, RVTD moves with the pulse of the Rogue Valley. More than just a bus ride, it's a lifeline for workers, students, and families, ensuring access for all to jobs, schools, and essential services. With renewable technologies and more convenient ways to get around, RVTD's building a future that keeps our region connected. Public transportation isn't just about getting from here to there. It's about the journey. Join RVTD as they build on their legacy of sustainability, innovation, and community. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you. Paulina's with me today. Delighted she is. She doesn't like getting up early, but she does for the Dove.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep last night. I was thinking and just excited to be back because it's fun for 3 days.
There you go.
Then I'm back to sleeping in.
There you go. All right, good morning to you. Well, so much going on in the Middle East, and will the hostage exchange continue and all that? Well, let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Going to begin this half hour in Israel, where more than 100,000 people line the roads today as the funeral cars carrying the bodies of slain former hostages Shiri, Ariel, and Kiffer Bibas made their way to the cemetery in the southern part of the country, not far from their home. Shiri Bibas and her two young boys, Ariel and Kiffer, were abducted on October 7, 2023, and taken to Gaza. They were brutally murdered by Hamas. The crowd carried Israeli flags and orange balloons depicting the color of the children's hair, now a symbol of honor and shared grief for the family. Singing could be heard at certain points as the procession made its way through the area. New reports say Israel will be more than 600 Palestinian prisoners Thursday who were originally set to be released last weekend. That release was held up for several days, a protest by Israel for Hamas's mistreatment of the Israeli hostages. And Hamas is expected to turn over the bodies of 4 more hostages at the same time as a fulfillment of phase 1 of the ceasefire deal. Want to turn now to the long-range picture of what's happening in Israel and what some say is a sign of the end times. Here, years ago, the arrival of 5 red heifers in Israel attracted global attention. Today, those cows are in ancient Shiloh. CBN's Chris Mitchell explains the significance of the historic event.
Here in Shiloh, first time after 2,000 years, we have real kosher red heifers, which is really exciting.
Mariah Shapir is the manager of the visitor center at ancient Shiloh and explains why the red heifers are so important.
In the Bible, it says when a person wants to enter the temple, which is called the House of Life, he has to go through a process using ashes of the red heifer, meaning that the red heifers are actually the key to the temple.
Shapira says that process is for purification, to cleanse someone from death.
So a person that got in contact with death, either in a funeral or in a hospital, and he wants to enter the temple, which is called the House of Life, full of the presence of God, has to go through this process. And the process is the priest used to take the ashes of the red heifer, mix it with water that comes from a spring, life water. He's actually taking the source of death, mixing it with source of life, and these together become the purifying water.
Jewish tradition maintains that the red heifer ashes are needed to rebuild the third temple. Some Christians believe a third temple would pave the way for the end times. Even Hamas reportedly blamed the red heifers in part for their invasion on October 7th. because the Al-Aqsa Mosque would be in danger if the heifers were used to build a third temple. The animals are also mentioned in the book of Numbers, chapter 19. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "This is the statute of the law which the Lord has commanded, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, that they bring you an unblemished red heifer, in which there is no defect, and on which a yoke has never been mounted. And you shall give it to Eleazar the priest, and it shall be brought outside the camp and be slaughtered in his presence." To be selected, these qualifications must be met. Be an adult cow with reddish-brown hair, no hairs of a different color, no blemishes, and never used for any other purpose.
These are the 5 red heifers out here in Shiloh. 2 have already been disqualified, but you only need 1 to qualify for the ceremony for the purification for the temple.
This area is where Hannah prayed for a son, where Samuel served the Lord, and Joshua divided the land between the 12 tribes.
The place where many stories of the Bible occurred. And today we also have here the red heifers, which is something new.
Shiloh has so much significance. It was the spiritual capital of Israel for 369 years.
During our visit, Bible teacher Dr. Todd Fink brought his group to see the red heifers.
This is huge. This is huge, and the one gal that was giving us the tour, she said that part of the reason why Hamas invaded is because of these red heifers. And according to prophecy, these red heifers are significant from the time of Israel's history. They say that only 9 have been killed for these ashes. And so for these to be here in Shiloh here, and for that to fit in with what appears to be prophecy on the horizon, we're living in monumental days, unbelievable times.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Ancient Shiloh.
Well, Stephanie thinks those little red heifers are cute. I mean, Paulina thinks those little red heifers.
They are. I like cows in general, but those red ones are especially.
Well, there is a concern about them. They now have rebred them. They're in this pen.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they're pure enough yet, I read one article where they have to be absolutely perfect, and I don't know what that means. If there's some kind of a diminishing mark, or there's a gray hair and there shouldn't be a gray hair, I don't know what it is, but they have to be absolutely perfect. But it is part of the piece of the prophetic puzzle.
Yeah,
and,
it's interesting when, watching this guy there raising them, when someone takes a calling so serious, I mean, it becomes their life mission.
It does. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the weather for you. Northern part of the state, Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, McMinnville, all was sunny weather and popping into the low 60s today. And the same thing if you're traveling through the Willamette Valley from Salem on into Albany down to Corvallis, Eugene. Just beautiful. Could see some patches of fog, but turning into a beautiful day, mid to upper 50s in the Willamette Valley. Central Oregon now going to get some sunshine. Prineville, 57, Bend and Sun River in the mid 50s. Mostly sunny weather, and over to Boise, 53 and sunny skies that way today. Looking good. The coast, sunny. Coos Bay, 64. Port Orford and Brookings in the upper 50s. Crescent City, 59, all with beautiful sunshine. Looking good. Southern Oregon, here we go. The spring tease is upon us. Grants Pass, Medford and Ashland, all in the mid-60s today. Mostly sunny weather. Klamath Falls, 54, and Wairika, 59. Sunshine. Down through the Central Valley, 72 already. And Redding, Chico, 69. Sacramento, Roseville, Marysville, all through there in the upper 60s, all with beautiful sunny skies. And the Bay Area is going to be fantastic. Santa Rosa and Napa in the low 70s. The city today will see 69 degrees. And are you ready for this? San Jose and East Bay, 77 degrees. Well, there it is. Look at that. You have, why isn't anybody up there? Is that a live shot?
They open tomorrow, I think, Thursday.
Oh,
right?
Today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yes. They are closed today. That's right. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays are closed. They'll be open tomorrow. But look at that spring skiing snow waiting for Jerry to return. Absolutely beautiful. That's the shot of Mount Ashland this morning.
Beautiful weather in Southern Oregon. And on this day, we like to always celebrate some piece of history. And on this day in 1974, Nike received a U.S. patent for its waffle trainer running shoes. And Jerry has that story for us.
Before Air Jordans and Just Do It, Nike was a small sneaker company founded at the University of Oregon. Bill Bowerman, a graduate of Medford High School and the coach of the University of Oregon track team, with Phil Knight, one of his runners, were unsatisfied with the available running footwear. They tinkered with shoes to make them lighter and faster, replacing canvas and leather uppers with nylon and adding a distinctive wedged heel. Their big breakthrough, however, came from the Bowerman family breakfast table. University of Oregon had decided to replace its cinder track with an artificial one, and Bowerman wanted to design a shoe that would grip the artificial track without spikes. One morning over breakfast, his wife's waffle iron provided the inspiration for the new shoes. Barbara Bowerman recalled that as one of the waffles came out, he said, "You know, by turning it upside down, where the waffle part would come in contact with the track, I think that might work." Bowerman immediately began experimenting by pouring polyurethane into the waffle iron, creating the first prototypes of Nike's waffle sole. The waffle iron, a wedding present, was ruined, but the first Nike waffle trainer was born. Bowerman sewed the waffle soles onto his running shoes, which became a hit. His patent application described an athletic shoe suitable for use on artificial turf. He and Knight sold their shoes at track meets across the West Coast before expanding nationwide. Their advertising campaign featured the slogan, "Made famous by word of foot advertising," and touted the waffle trainer as the classic running shoe. After the runaway success of the Nike waffle trainers, Bowerman and Knight continued to create popular new athletic shoes. Their innovative design, creative marketing, and eye for fashion launched Nike from a small regional business to a global behemoth. In 2011, Bill Bowerman's son and daughter-in-law unearthed the original waffle iron. It had been buried in the yard on their property in Fossil, Oregon since the 1970s. It was in horrible shape, according to Bowerman's daughter-in-law, but Nike executives were thrilled with the discovery. The waffle iron is now displayed at Nike headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon.
So do you put syrup on those shoes?
Great piece of history for
well, it is,
for Oregon.
And it's us. It's our own backyard. That is absolutely terrific.
Well, we've all heard the term green card. I was a holder of it for about a decade. It's a status here, permanent status in the United States that allows you to work, allows you to live here, enjoy a lot of the benefits of this country. And there are different ways to get it, through marriage, through serving in the Army. I believe that's one way. Don't quote me on that.
You can get an employment transfer.
You can do it through a history of employment.
Yeah.
There are lotteries where you can apply and perhaps win a green card. There's also investment opportunities. It's called EB-5. While President Trump is shaking things up in so many different areas, he decided to do something with green cards as well and come up with an idea called Gold Card. He announced it yesterday, and here's a few of his comments.
We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship. And wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. And never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks out? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
So the EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold, so they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
And if you sell this card to 1 million people, that's the number President Trump mentioned there, you're going to make $5 trillion, and that can go towards covering the debt that we have. Now, the current program that is in place requires would-be investors to invest a little over $1 million and then create at least 10 jobs, and that would allow you to get on a pathway to green card and then later citizenship. This gold card kind of alters things a little bit. The price tag is now higher. I'm not sure if the job requirement is going to be there, but obviously they want wealthy, good quality world citizens to come to the United States, which is a change from the previous administration when everyone was invited to just come in.
Well, he puts a value on it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
You know, we all know that when it's something free, you don't cherish it as much.
Yep.
When you paid for $5 million for something, there is a value. Of course, some people are worried that now bad actors can get in, and yeah, I guess that's always a risk, but they're saying there's going to be very vigorous vetting process.
I would have paid it for you.
Would have, if you had it.
I didn't have it.
I know.
I didn't have to do it.
I know, you didn't.
But you had to wait 10 years.
We went through a different kind of process where I had to
ever.
get the work visa and a lot of paperwork and still money involved. I guess this would be another way for a company to do it, is pay $5 million on behalf of a valuable worker to bring them here.
We sent you to Mexico. We sent you to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
We actually sent you back to Russia.
Yeah.
You came back. We did all this stuff. And then
and
sitting right under our nose was Steve Best, and he didn't know what was going on. And we had to get him on a plane in the middle of the night and get him out of the country. So anyway, good stuff. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered, from homes to homes on wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express, breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
The biblical instructions for coming to Christ are repentance and faith. So repentance, that is turning away from your lifestyle of sin, and faith, trusting in the Lord Jesus Christ alone.
There is truth in this world because God created it, and His Word is truth. We see this laid out in the Bible, the foundation to a reasonable faith. And that faith is centered on Jesus Christ and His great work.
Monday, Friday, and Saturday on theDove TV.
All right, welcome back. And I had John O'Connor on, and John is a former federal prosecutor, well-informed guy, a lot to talk about to him. And I did ask him, I kind of moved him off legal things, and I didn't know how well-involved and informed he was on Middle East and world geopolitical things. And I did ask him about what he thought about President Trump being friendly to President Putin. And here's what he had to say.
What I would say is this.
he's certainly playing a game with Zelensky. Okay, so there's no doubt he wants Zelensky not to have his feet in concrete. So if he perceives, and remember, this is something that I do every day, and every lawyer does this every day, goes to mediations, and the mediator is trying to think of how to get each person to the table. One may be willing, and you don't need to work on him. The other ones you need to blast, and you need to figure out how to get to them. In this case, it may well be that he knows what Putin is going to do and what he will agree to, whereas Zelensky may be a harder sell, and Zelensky may be thinking he's got this rock-solid public support and he's always going to get money, so he can cross his arms and demand different things. And I think Trump is now in the process of convincing Zelensky, you got to do what I tell you to do. Okay, so that's number one. Now, my question is, and another thing is, Putin has to sell this. So if he looks like Trump is doing something that helps Putin walk away with his head held high, you know, where the United States president is saying, oh, yeah, Putin, he's my kind of guy. Great, we cut a deal. This thing never should have happened. Okay, here we are. Now, it certainly validates what Putin has done, and Putin does not feel the need to go forward. If you wanted to get Putin to keep fighting, you would make all kinds of nasty noises about him and about how terrible it is and how we're going to settle this thing and it's going to be a terrible defeat for Putin to have to do this. You've just screwed up that deal. You've to use a colloquial word, you've queered the deal. And so I'm hoping that that's what he's doing, that he's being opaque about this, he's being a deal maker. We don't know what he's saying to Putin behind the scenes. We don't know what Putin's telling him. And Putin may be saying, hey, let me out of this. Just give me the land I've got, and I'm happy with it. Because remember, this is what he always wanted. He wanted a land bridge down from Russia down to Crimea.
Hi.
Well, there you go. We'll see what happens. Now, to your point earlier, it looks like the president is, if it is part of his strategy, is to, if I can use the term, wean Russia away from China. You're saying that that kind of is already kind of happening. I
think so. I mean, I think we're seeing the attention shifted. You know, Saudi Arabia is becoming a big player. European countries are figuring out how to act around Trump and what to do with this peace deal. By the way, we did look it up, and the last United States president who visited Russia was Barack Obama in 2013. Okay. So possibly Trump will be next. I guess you saw news that that's in the talks. So.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah. Coming up on Focus today, we have some great guests because I schedule them. They are great. Colleen Roberts will be joining us. She's the Jackson County Commissioner. She'll be talking about fire maps, wildfire designations that are happening, and the pushback that we're seeing because so many homeowners are just not thrilled with the changes. Also, Mark Little, all the way from NRB. He's your buddy, and he's missing you this year.
Yeah, I should be there, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of religion and our country, last month, along with the president, we also got new Congress. And while we're still getting to know some of the members, one thing remains clear. Christianity still dominates Capitol Hill, though its numbers continue to decline. According to a new Pew Research Center analysis, 87% of voting members in the Senate and House identify as Christians, down from 88% in the last session and 92% a decade ago. Among them, Protestants make up the largest group, followed by Catholics. Baptists saw a slight increase this past session, while historically strong Protestant groups like Methodists, Presbyterians, and Episcopalians continue to decline. Meanwhile, Jewish representation remains steady and small, but there is a growing number of Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists who are still serving in the House. Now, it's worth noting that while Christianity in Congress is slowly declining, it remains far more prevalent than the rest of the United States. I mean, you've had George Barna on the show. We know that the numbers are declining among the general population, and about 62% of Americans identify as Christians. While if you look at Congress and see the number there is 87, That's a pretty big difference. And even though it doesn't feel like it, but our Congress is overwhelmingly Christian. I should say it doesn't always feel like it, because there are some very outspoken non-Christian members.
You know, it's interesting. As the president continues to get his cabinet put together, on some media, and certainly along with a lot of his new cabinet members, you're seeing more and more crosses being worn. Have you noticed
publicly.
it? And I looked at that. I thought, no longer do they stick it down their blouse or hide it somewhere, or don't wear it. They're wearing it. And so that's encouraging.
That's a sign,
I do know that there are several major prayer groups going on. I know that the speaker has prayer, I think, twice a week in his office. And the president moved the faith-based initiative into the West Wing. And so that's kind of interesting. A little controversy about Paula White heading that up, but...
well, it's one of the questions I have for you to ask Pastor Mark. I wonder what he thinks about this whole restructuring of the faith office and also making Paula White the head of it.
Well, she's been a friend of the president's for a long time.
Yeah, and some say she led him to Christ, but her remarks, her stance, her prosperity gospel makes a lot of people scratch their head and be like, okay, is it really as pure as
you got her
can
on
get?
the show for me one time.
I did, yes.
We caught her on the fly. I think we literally got her at an airport, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, good stuff coming up. Stick around. We got some great interviews. Take with you today 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up just as you are doing. That's part of your today, isn't it?
Yes. Set a good example and write a letter to an elderly. Just don't tell them. That's why you're writing it.
Don't leave me a note.
I did not. I'm not talking to you. See you tomorrow.
What would it be like if we learned to love each other? And what would it be like if we lived like we believe that everybody matters?
Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express, breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley's own K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
It can be puzzling assembling all the right pieces for your insurance needs in retirement. I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Guiding you through the stormy seas of insurance, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
You're watching the Dove TV, encouraging and informative for Boise and the Treasure Valley. Seen on KTVJ3 and these Dove TV affiliates.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I'm always delighted when we have a chance to sit down with our local officials, and always an honor to have with me Commissioner Colleen Roberts. She's a Jackson County Commissioner. She's a friend, and she's a frontline warrior in so many things. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for...
I have her in today because there's a very important town hall meeting coming up dealing with what they're calling SB 762 in the state of Oregon. And there's this proposed map that's been out there about where the fire zones would be, and the citizens went up crazy. They're saying you wouldn't lose your fire insurance, and people are. Pretty messy. Can you give us an update?
Well, my
as complicated as it is.
And to many landowners, this has really been an attack on their private property rights. There's so much uncertainty in it. You know, will you lose your insurance? Can you sell your property? Does your property value drop? And what has the new governor's executive orders done to the mapping? And that's added even another layer of confusion. And so I have been trying for probably the last month to get someone from the state, a representative or senator, to address the people of Jackson County to answer these questions. It is a state law, and so Senator Robinson has joined with me to provide a town hall on March 8th from 2 to 4 in the afternoon at White Mountain Middle School in White City. And we've invited all the local state representatives and senators in Jackson County that represent us to join us, and they want to speak. We want all voices at the table and all answers to the public that shows up that needs answers. But the appeal process is still in place. There's an appeal deadline of March 10th. So our town hall is in the nick of time and my encouragement is everybody needs to appeal. One revelation our counties discovered when we confronted the Oregon Department of Forestry is they admitted they didn't have the resources to notice every high hazard wildland urban interface qualifier for this mapping. And so you may have not been notified that you are high hazard, and you'll miss the appeal deadline.
Does that alone create a legal stop until that is done? You would think that legally they can't do this, and they'd have to stop until everybody's notified. It
seems to me it adds an extra layer of mess in what they're trying to do, and a real crook in their system. But I'm not an attorney. I would think it would be, well, they even said they sent the letters out certified mail, and they just came in the mail. I mean, everything about it's been so sketchy and not transparent. The whole process, the mapping is a mess. It's not explainable to most people who ask questions about the levels that were applied to their property. And then the fact that it's really being done even on a landscape basis, not really lot basis anyway, but that puts a real problem on people's private property ownership and confidence in that.
How did the map come about?
It's through the legislation, through Senate Bill 762.
That was primarily Senator Jeff Golden.
And Pam Marsh.
Okay, and how did they draw the map? That was an arbitrary thing? Or?
That was assigned to Oregon State University, and when they created the first map, people rose up. It was a mess, and they withdrew it immediately because of the pressure of the people. And that's what I'm trying to create, continuing putting that pressure on the state, because it worked the first time. There is power in the voice of the people. And my encouragement is for everybody to file an appeal. And you can go online, just Google Oregon Wildfire Mapping Appeal Form, and it'll pop right up.
Okay.
And you can send it electronically, or you can mail it in still at this point.
There's a picture.
There it is. That's what pops up when you Google that. pretty simple. It asks for your name, your address, your phone number, your mailing address, and then property description, your tax lot. And if people come to the meeting, my first question is how many have already made their appeals? And it'll give us guidance on how to help anybody that shows up that has questions.
Well, this is the first time the map came out. It was an alarming thing, and because it was brought back, everybody thought it went away. No, it just went through the system, slowed down, and here it is back. And again, with a lot of problems to it. And folks, you really, really need to, if you don't know where you are in the map, well, Google the map and take a look at it. And I do know that it is a threat to values. It is a threat to insurance. It's everything they say it's not. It is. And I think it also puts restrictions on fire districts and what they can and can't do. What are you going to do with that?
Yes. It creates, and then it adds extra fire hardening with planning, departments within that Senate Bill 762. With if you want to rebuild, how, or if you even can, if your house burns. And I'm not sure what they're trying to fix anyway. Our biggest wildfire issues comes from our federal lands, which is over 50% of our property.
Right.
It's not from our home and living as Oregonians have always lived.
Yeah, right. Well, let me say this again, March 8th at the White City, or the White Mountain School in White City. If you're in the Southern Oregon area, go to this town hall meeting on March 8th. What time again? 2
p.m. to 4 p.m.
All right, 2 to 4. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be at least that.
Yes.
I really hope that you'll go and learn from this. Is anybody who is favor of this going to be there?
All I know for sure is Senator Robinson and Representative McIntyre both agreed they would be there and help facilitate. We have a local opponent of this map being Bob Hart that has a presentation. He's been involved in a lot of the committee works and has a lot of detailed information about the flaws in the mapping as well. And he'll be there doing his presentation. And I'm just there to encourage everybody to file their appeals. Even if you're not even sure if you're in the high hazard, file an appeal anyway. Let them figure it out. But to inundate the system.
Thank you. All right, so how do they do that? They go to what website?
It's through the Oregon Department of Forestry, but you can just Google for that form, Oregon Wildfire Mapping Appeal Form. And that's the only form at this point you have to put in. It gives you a placeholder that has not been put on hold by the governor, and you don't need an attorney. They were saying if your land's in a trust, you need an attorney, and that we all may need an attorney if it goes to an appeals hearing.
Right.
But at this point, you do not need an attorney. You need to file your objection.
Okay. Okay, now we did hear that the governor stepped in, supposedly repealed the map, but that's not true. What happened with that?
At this point, she has put on hold the Oregon Department of Forestry sending those appeal forms to the administrative hearings. The appeal process is still in place. They're backing it down, but they haven't backed it off. And until they back it off, we can't back off. We need to keep our pressure on the state on this.
Okay. In the meantime, one of the stories I had today is the governor did go to Washington working with the new agricultural secretary to reinstate some of these firefighting grants. That's got to be good news.
We have a lot of wildfire back here.
And last year was bad.
Yeah, well, not in Jackson County.
Yeah, well, you guys, everybody's done a good job.
They have.
Yeah. So, all right. So I can't emphasize this enough. You may think this is not a big deal, but remember when the map came out, and this was primarily Senator Golden's work, and I guess it was in response to what happened with the Alameda fire. But this line was drawn arbitrarily, and all of a sudden I looked at myself, and I'm going, I just lost my insurance. I'm outside the line.
Oh, wow.
And what does it do to your home value? What do you do with this?
Right.
And we maintain the landscape way away from our property, and we clean it and keep it down and all this and that. But boy, all of a sudden, you didn't have anything going. Well, fortunately, that outrage pushed all that back. But folks, if you don't know where this is, what I want to say, what Commissioner Roberts is attempting to do here, please don't let this slide by. Put on your calendar March 8th It'll be from 2 to 4 in White City at the White Mountain School.
Middle school.
Middle school. And boy, come in here, listen, participate, the least of which, go to the Oregon Forestry Department and fill out the form.
Yep, and if you have any questions, they're welcome to contact me. Our board as a whole has battled the Senate Bill 762 as it was introduced and has all the way through objected to this intrusion on rural Oregonians. And
how is the other counties responding, do you know? Well,
there's been other town halls in other counties, Josephine County, Douglas, and maybe Klamath. I'm not positive on that one. Some counties, and recently I've gotten emails, why isn't Jackson County doing this? But Deschutes just did a blanket appeal for all high hazard 21,000 lots for their county. And why aren't you doing this? And yet their disclaimer with it was, but be sure and go ahead and file your own appeal. Because I think they know a county cannot intrude on someone's private property rights either. They may want the mapping. I wouldn't, but it is your private property responsibility to make the appeal. And we totally support that. And we're totally against this bill. I think it's very much an intrusion and an attack on rural Oregonians.
Quite frankly, Commissioner, has the science been done what this may or may not accomplish?
I don't think it has. It won't put out one wildfire, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what's this going to do?
When I saw...
Other than put control over the government.
And control. Power and control on your private property. When I saw the Alameda fire drop past 4 lanes of I-5, that's a pretty good defensible space.
Yeah.
And they think 50 feet around your house is going to save your house. It's kind of absurd.
Well, folks, again, for those of watching on the Dove outside of our immediate area, this is a big issue in our backyard, and we have to respect this. And so if you've received notification, boy, you have every obligation to respond. If you're not sure, but you kind of like in that fringe area, don't risk it. Get online and file this. And so go to the Oregon Department of Forestry and click on the form. What's it called? The Wildlife Hazardous Classification Appeal Form.
Yep.
And there's a picture for those watching on the Dove TV. There's a picture of the form. It's a single page. Won't take you long to fill it out. Have your information in front of you because it's going to ask you for your tax lot. That's okay. They need to know where you are.
They know.
They know. Of course they do. They drew the map.
Mail it or do it electronically.
And I'm trying to figure out what this is going to do to fire districts in the long run.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're already under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I will be meeting with them as well to see where what their view is. That I'm not sure. I just know it really should be a concern of every landowner, whether you've been noticed or not.
Yeah, good. Commissioner, thank you. I don't know when you sleep. Thank you for all the team down there. You guys, I say this, and I mean it. Of the 36 counties, Jackson County is run the best.
Well, I like Jackson County the best.
Well, it is. You really do. All 3 of you commissioners, Danny, Jordan, everybody, and I know it's not an easy job. It's almost a thankless job, but we're growing. You've got it under control. We've got some real jewels in our own backyard. Thank you for putting in there.
We have a great team.
Good
Thank
to see
you.
Thanks for coming
it's
in.
Great to be part of it.
All right, file that appeal. We'll be right back.
Coach Nick Mingione started strong for the Kentucky Wildcats.
It's a pretty incredible first year. You're SEC Coach of the Year. The expectations were really high. I mean, it's hard not to, once you do that your first year, I mean, what comes next?
And what came next was disappointment.
I got on my hands and knees and was like, Lord, I'm done. Like, I surrender. Like, I'm letting go of this. I'm done trying to do this on my own. Like, I need you.
Watch the 700 Club Wednesday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
From top home sellers in the Valley with John L. Scott.
To making RV consignment effortless. American RV, where Team Toner gets your RV sold fast.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
I'm holding the many prayer requests that arrive here at the Dove. We're grateful that you include us with your prayer needs. As a staff, know that we join you and pray over your requests for God's help. Have a prayer need? Let us know by going to thedove.us.
We have on our team policy experts. They're all engaged in foreign policy issues.
We actually try to go in and do something positive and actually affect change.
We had a series of cases primarily dealing with religious liberty.
Nations that had more religious freedom had better democracies.
We've taken the First Amendment, and that has been our cornerstone. It's to defend the rights of people of faith.
We not only hold our government accountable, but we hold other governments accountable.
Welcome back. Well, as we know, there's a lot of changes going on in Washington, a lot of shakeups, and as they continue to get involved in agencies and audit agencies, they're uncovering a lot of things that we may suspected were there, hoped that it wasn't there, and found out in many cases it's worse than we ever can possibly think. So very timely for me to have back with us Orrin McIntyre, the author of The Total State and How the Liberal Democracies Become Tyrannies. He's also the host of the Orrin McIntyre Show and often a columnist for Blaze News. The cover of the book there on the screen, and you can check that out at online, Total State, The Total State. He does have a website, orrinmcintyre.substack.com. And by the way, it's spelled A-U-R-O-N, McIntyre.substack.com. Orrin, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so your book and everything deals with the fact that you obviously, we all realize something's been under the covers for a long time, and I think we're a little bit on tilt that it's worse than we thought. You recently published a couple of articles discussing the rise of unaccountable government. What's behind that?
Well, as we've discussed before, the United States, unfortunately, has seen an evolution in the way that its government was run. It has strayed very far from the constitutional understanding and framework that was set up by those that created this country, and has instead moved towards unaccountable bureaucracy. Unfortunately, that's become pretty obvious over the last decade or so. Very few people looking at the presidency of Joe Biden believed he was ultimately in charge of what was going on. But now that we see the rot at the heart of the total state, now that we're seeing what that bureaucracy was actually dedicated to, we're recognizing how horrendous things have been. We knew it was bad, but when you look at, for instance, the dismantling of USAID, we recognize the amount of foreign aid that was really just going to fund the most heinous progressive leftist projects around the world. It would be bad enough if our money was being stolen, if the American people were being taken for a ride, but it's even worse when the money is actively being deployed to fund some of the most evil things you can imagine. The idea that we're pushing atheism in Nepal, or we're pushing a transgender comic book in Peru, or a transgender musical in Colombia. These are all horrific things that our money is being dedicated to, and yet this has been done without any accountability up until this point.
Okay, so here they are uncovering, of course, the left is up in arms, legacy media is coming unglued and all this and that. I guess you would expect that. But at the same time, I think Americans are saying we not only don't like the way the country's going, we're almost in shock that it was as bad as it is. We're heading down the road of cleaning it up. Do you think we'll succeed?
Well, we're already seeing important first steps. Like we said, the end of something like USAID is huge, because even though the total money amount, it doesn't touch anything like, say, entitlements, Social Security, those kind of things in the federal budget, the amount of money going into these massive progressive causes around the world really kept this entire architecture of ideology afloat. It is something that was making sure that all these NGOs and other organizations around the world continue to perpetuate the type of rot that we're talking about. We're also seeing that guys like Chris Rufo are tearing into the Department of Education, or now even the intelligence community. The fact that we just found out that there was a giant transgender chat room being operated inside our intelligence agencies like the CIA or the Department of Homeland Security, and that there was all kinds of different machinations going on here, not just with their own personal sexual escapades, but also their desire to recruit others, form some kind of resistance to Donald Trump. Obviously, this is just nefarious stuff that was operating at the highest levels inside the American government and the deep state. And the fact that this is being exposed and people like Tulsi Gabbard are declaring war on this is ultimately very heartening. That's why Trump had to bring in people like Tulsi Gabbard that were hated by the very communities that they are now in charge of. They needed someone who was coming from the outside, who didn't owe anything to anyone in the establishment, and would be willing to do the hard work of cleaning this up.
Okay, so in the meantime, as they uncover what seems to be worse than they anticipated, does this slow down the president's agenda?
Well, obviously, there's a good amount of rot, again, that has to be pulled out of all of this. And I hope that ultimately Donald Trump is willing to burn some of these organizations down to the core if necessary in order to get this ideology out. If you don't get it root and branch, then the people who were responsible for it arising in the first place will continue what they were doing. The good news about Donald Trump this time around is it seems like he was prepared for the necessity of this action, and he's continuing his flood the zone strategy. The media has already complained multiple times about the fact that Donald Trump and his administration are moving so fast that they can't possibly keep up. They can't create the level of outrage and resistance that they did in his first term, and they are basically getting bowled over by the amount of action that is taking place in this administration. And so it would seem, at least at the beginning of this, that the Trump administration is able to expose this stuff, go after it, and keep pace with the agenda. But this is, of course, a marathon, not just a sprint. And so ultimately the question will be, can they maintain this pace? I hope that the answer is yes. And the fact that Trump has gotten so many of his Senate confirmation picks this time as compared to last time is, again, heartening, because it means he has the personnel in place to go ahead and carry out the type of agenda that he was elected to do.
There's another part of this, Orrin, that's really interesting. While we uncover this, it's somewhat globally embarrassing that we have this rot, but at the same time, this exposure has given hope to other countries. How do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just over in London for the ARC conference, the one that Jordan Peterson has put on, and there's a large degree of politicians from the UK, Canada, Australia, all coming in. And there's this simultaneous feeling where some of the more establishment politicians are scared to follow Elon and Donald Trump. They think that ultimately there could be some kind of blowback in their own countries if they saddle up beside those figures too closely. But they're also inspired by what's going on. And anyone under, I'd say, 50 there was incredibly enthusiastic about the idea that their own country could follow in the steps of the United States. In a lot of ways, the United States was ground zero for this kind of managerial revolution that took over the government and spread this woke mind virus through all of these different organizations. But it's also ground zero for the solution. And I think it's great that a lot of the average people in these countries are recognizing the momentum they could bring, but also the politicians are finally recognizing that they don't need to bow and scrape to progressivism anymore. There's a new sheriff in town, and they can recognize the viability of taking the same type of action that we're seeing in the United States in their own country.
So, in the meantime, does Elon Musk survive?
Well, a lot of people have tried to play off the Elon Musk and Trump dynamic. You know, they want to make Trump, who is famously someone who enjoys the limelight, enjoys the praise, they want to make him jealous of Elon. They want to call him the real president or the shadow president. these kind of things, hoping that they will play off against each other, they will antagonize each other, and eventually drive a wedge between them. But I don't think that's going to happen. Ultimately, Elon Musk was very important to Donald Trump's ascendance in the second term. We all look now back at the acquisition of Twitter as possibly one of the most important political actions that has taken place in 50 plus years. And so there's a very important role that Musk plays inside the administration. Also, this time around, Trump seems more comfortable with delegating. He recognizes the importance of getting competent people who are loyal to him, dedicated to the MAGA cause, and are ultimately willing to execute on that. And he doesn't feel as it isn't as important to him to be involved in every single decision, to have his thumb on the scale every single time. So while a lot of people are trying to drive this wedge between Elon and Trump, I don't really see that forming right now.
So, obviously the left is coming unglued, and they have accused him of just being vindictive and a dictator and all that stuff. So, but the end of the day, it looks like to me what he's doing is he's using his new team to expose the rot, which takes out his enemies by sheer, not only discrediting them, but just ruining their reputation. He doesn't have to spend time going after them legally. He just ruins them by exposing what they've done. Is that part of it?
Yeah, and ultimately, I think the response that you're seeing from the left is what happens when you have an actual executive in the office. For so long, the executive branch has been more or less farmed out to expertise, to an oligarchic technocratic class that's taken over so much of what's going on. And so the vigorous use of constitutional executive power scares the people who are deeply invested in that mode of operating the government. But if you've read the Federalist Papers, you know that in Federalist 51, famously, Hamilton says that ambition has to check ambition. You need robust branches of government that are going to push back against each other when one overextends. It's been very clear for a long time that the left, progressives, and even a number of people in the Republican Party were really comfortable with the idea that the president was more of a vestigial office, that ultimately guys like Anthony Fauci and other experts should run the country with just the fig leaf of an elected leader standing in front of them. But that is not what the American people want. It's not what the Constitution says. And this time around, it's not what Donald Trump is allowing. And that is very encouraging.
As we uncover more of the rot, it does create a further disconnect in trust in government. On the other hand, this is the healthiest thing we can do to restore that trust. Do you think that can be accomplished?
It can be, but it is a tricky thing. Like you said, we really do need to strip out some of the trust that existed in government, and more importantly, the expert class, before we can go back and restore the integrity of these institutions. The institutions have to start doing what they say on the label. We had a Department of Education that didn't educate any of the children. We have a Department of Homeland Security that had no interest in actually protecting the people of the United States. A Federal Bureau of Investigation that only investigated the political enemies of the Democratic Party. If we want any of these institutions to mean anything anymore, they have to start doing what they're supposed to do. And in some cases, like the Department of Education, they should just be done away with because they never did what they said they were going to do. The Department of Education has been a failure since its very beginning, and there's simply no reason to keep it around. So by choosing which institutions ultimately to keep, which ones to reform, and which ones to entirely get rid of, Trump has the opportunity to reinvest America's faith in the institutions that matter, focusing on those that are doing their job, not just creating vast amounts of networks of bureaucrats just to serve as a progressive job program.
So one last question. There's a lot of players on the left that have gotten us to this mess. And most recently, the last 4 years has just almost been unbelievable. Do you think anybody of notoriety on the left will go down?
Well, a number of people who are probably more savvy operators than the left have been trying to put the woke away, trying to say we need to calm this down. We need to turn to maybe our economic message. There's all these billionaires in charge. Maybe that's the winning ticket. They're trying to speak truth to their current audience, but their audience has become so rabid, their activist class has become so rabid that they want to continue to push these radical progressive policies, even in the face of their electoral and moral defeat. So I think you've seen people like Joy Reid losing their show. There seems to be some attempt by some of the media outlets. Jeff Bezos just came out and said that the Washington Post is going to dial back the radical leftism in some of its opinion pages. We'll see what actually happens with this. There has been some shift. I'm doubtful that they can completely turn the ship around given the state of their own staff and their own activist class. But there's certainly an attempt to do so. And when you do that, the most radical actors like Joy Reid do end up on the bench.
Yeah, they do. Hey, good to see you, friends. Thanks for staying in the fight. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out Oren's website, and that's AURON, McIntyre.substack.com. That's where you can connect with him. Check out his book, The Total State, and check out his show. Thanks, Oren. Good to see you, bud.
Thanks again.
Yeah, God bless.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Welcome back, and I just love having Pastor Mark Little on. I should physically be with him right now, but I'm not. I'm here, and he's at the NRB in Dallas. He is a pastor. He's an attorney. He's the executive director of Cure America Action, and that is also his website, cure-action.com. And there's a picture of the landing page of his website. Pastor Mark, good to see you, buddy. I missed being there with you.
Good morning. You know, the only reason I registered, because I figured I'd be able to have my sit-down lunch with you. Now, you owe me my registration fee back.
You know what? You're an attorney. Sue me.
Unfortunately, that small claims court is not worth the time.
You know, this is the first time in about 25 years, and only because I'm under the gun with some other things at this end, and I got to stay here. But so good to see you, Fred. Tell us about the NRB. How's it going?
You know, it's going well. As you know, it's sort of like a reunion, and I get to see my former pastor, Jack Hibbs, walking around with he and his wife and the word that he brought, and so many of our friends who are on the front lines doing exactly what you and I are doing this morning, which is making sure that the gospel continues to be shared to the body of Christ, as well as current events. And it's just really good. They had their vote, had the new election, and all is well. All is well. We got one more day.
One more day. What do you think? Is there a central theme this year, a central message?
Well, it's funny. There's always a central message, but I sort of look beyond what is planned. So we had a huge Israel prayer breakfast this morning, and that's a big priority. What's happening in the Middle East, but I look beyond what is the written plan, and I try to discern what the Holy Spirit is actually saying. Sometimes we get it, we miss it when we put all of our agendas together, and we say what we think we're going to say and do. So to answer your question, what I'm really sensing and feeling is the urgency of the church to look at the horizon and understand the sign of the times and understand what the church should be doing today. We were shut down during COVID. We been attacked as parents in schools for protecting our children, and now we're literally arguing about whether or not a parent has the right to know if his or her child is undergoing some gender identity crisis. And so we've got this transgenderism in sports and all of that sort of thing. If you look at it on its face, it just looks like a bunch of bickering. But the reality is we're looking at an attack on God's design. We're looking at an attack. And so I'm looking at the agenda, but I'm seeing what's really going on. And God is telling the church to wake up. We were really, really blessed to have another opportunity of repentance when Donald Trump was elected, when he signed an executive order that there are only two genders. A lot of us chuckled and said, duh. But really, it was I don't even think he realizes it. It was a moment of repentance. Yeah. It was yet another moment of repentance, just like when we overturned Roe v. Wade. So we've got another chapter, if you will, for the church to be the church. And that's what I am looking for. I'm looking for people who are looking past the written agenda and discerning what the Holy Spirit is saying and telling us to do as the body of Christ.
Okay. Do you think, I want to ask this question very carefully. Churches who embraced wokeness, do you think they're feeling the pressure now?
The answer is yes. If you go to my Instagram, Real Mark T. Little, the most recent post was about from 1 a.m. In the morning, Central Standard Time. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those night owls, And I posted who I would not call a friend, but certainly someone that I have been in a relationship with, and that is the Pastor Jamal Bryant down in Atlanta at New Birth Church, who took over the church from Eddie Long, who fell in great scandal. And Jamal Bryant commented on the Black History Month celebration at the White House. And there are a lot of my friends. I was invited but unable to attend. And it was a wonderful gathering. Somebody put up a big picture of him, which I think was a mistake. But he responded with great vitriol and called them runaway slaves and the spooks that sat by the door. And on and on and on. And he's always sort of combative, but this was unusually vitriolic. And I think that is a representation of how the scramble is going on. If you look at Jasmine Crockett, a black female congresswoman here from Texas, who is just off the rails with what's happening in the Trump administration just 30 days in, he's uncovering what the deep state has been up to probably for decades and how they've shipped our money overseas, calling it foreign aid, but I believe it's black ops funding, quite frankly.
Right.
But they are just over the edge with their vitriol. So no, they're not going in the other direction of sanity. They actually are becoming more insane. And Pastor Jamal Bryant, in his vitriolic exchange or really monologue, I think is evidence of that. And I really do think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But maybe they'll come along for the ride and wake up and find out that what we're doing for the American people is actually helping them, whether they like it or not.
Do you sense not only yourself, Mark, because I know your heart, but also maybe there at the NRB, that we believers have, I guess we've been given a reprieve, but have we been given this reprieve with a sense of urgency of spreading the gospel?
Yeah, I think the answer is no. And I don't know what it is. It's a malaise that I think exists. But I think, Perry, unfortunately, that it's also a byproduct of living in a free country as we do here in America. Liberty is what we are used to. I had the pleasure of interviewing a lady from India yesterday for Black Community News and Cure America with Star Parker, and I was called upon to do the interview. And the lady is the voice for Christians in India who are being persecuted. We don't hear much about that. We heard about the beheadings of 70 Christians in Congo last week. We heard about the slaughter of Christians in Africa. We don't hear much about persecution in India.
Right.
And so my point is I think we have a malaise here in the United States. We're used to liberty, and because of that, if we don't do anything, our next door neighbor is not going to be slaughtered. And so we casually share the gospel, and of course I'm talking from my own lens. I know there'll be pastors out there who do street ministry and evangelism, and they're in the trenches and they see a different part of America. But from my viewpoint, I know a lot of people who love the Lord and who are very quick to share the gospel. But we're not out there with the urgency of he's coming back tomorrow. Which could very well be the case given all of the prophecies that are coming to pass. And so, unfortunately, I have to say to you, I don't see the sense of urgency. I do hear from other friends that there is revival happening. But I got to tell you, if we don't have repentance, I'm just not sure how much of a revival it will take hold in this country. We need repentance beyond what Donald Trump just did with 2 genders. We need repentance. And I think after we do that, the scripture tells us then he will heal from heaven and heal our land. I think we're still waiting for that.
That's a tough answer to digest. No. I hope we manage this time wisely and humbly before the Lord. Let me ask you this, Mark. Is AI being discussed there at the NRB?
Oh, gosh. Is it ever? In fact, I think today there's probably four or five sessions on AI, and rightly so. And there's so many interesting things happening with that. There's this race almost to who can be better at using the tools of the enemy, At the same time, you don't want to be left behind because somebody else will use it better. There's a huge conversation around AI. And the interesting thing for, I think, the United States is that we've got we have the best, in my opinion. When you look at Mark Andreessen and Altman and all of these folks, and of course Elon Musk, they know what they're doing with AI. The problem is, I can't point to one of them and say, this person is sold out for Jesus Christ. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't be used and that tool can't be moderated in a way that doesn't bring a lot of harm. But we're already seeing what they call deep fakes. We're already seeing things that are so believable and real that are simply, not true. People speaking and then putting words in their mouths and the lips matching the words. It can start a world war. And so there's a lot of concern around AI, but I tell my friends who are pastors and co-believers, the only answer for us is to stay on our knees at the foot of the cross, hearing what the Lord is saying to the church. Because, of course, none of this is a surprise to him. What we have to focus on is what is our assignment as we are watching the world change And it literally is changing. We're not talking about the gene manipulation, the DNA manipulation, and the cloning that's going on in other parts of the world. They are remaking people. So AI is of course important. But when you talk about CRISPR-9, and you talk about gene manipulation, and you talk about the ability to turn a white mouse black, in the next iteration of the generation of that mouse. You could take a white mouse, snip its DNA, and everything that it produces after that is all black. And of course, the reverse is also true. We've got some very diabolical things happening, and AI is just the one that we're talking about.
Because the one thing that concerns me about AI, and there's a lot of concerns, some of it, we possibly could use, and it may be advanced medicine, I don't know. But spiritually speaking, I'm wondering if it will eliminate the transcendence of God during sermon preparation.
There's certainly the capacity to do that. AI, you give it a topic, it'll write an entire sermon for you.
Yeah.
And if you're lazy, you won't go in and check the citations. It depends on the preacher, but there's no doubt about it that it will change presentations. It'll change substance. It'll even change how many people now call themselves pastors, preachers who are not even called, because AI is going to make so many things easier to do. I'm in the middle of doing a book now, Letters to My Son, Godly Fatherhood. And I admit I've used AI with respect to my outline, and it's quite frightening to see how it will generate not only scriptures that go at each chapter, that are consistent with my topic, but it will go deep and tell you, it's told me things I didn't even think about. And so there's dangers there, and right now we can use it for good in order to go deep in our topics and to expand and to teach and all of that. But over time, I think there's some real dangers with AI that we've all discussed, and we just have to be on the lookout for it. And also not find ourselves in churches that are just driven by an AI avatar, if you will. We'll be sitting in church watching the AI avatar preach.
Well, might be for a reason to sell popcorn too, right?
Yeah. Look, and with great charisma, look just how you like it to look, and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that is very possible.
Yeah. All right, let me take a quick break. So honored to have with us, Skyping him in from Texas today, Pastor Mark Little. He's at the NRB. First time in many, many years I haven't been there. And it's going to cost me a lot of money when I do meet up with him. Anyway, check out his website, cure-action.com. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Life is complicated enough. Why worry about what to do with your extra car? Skip the costs of maintaining it, storing it, insuring it, or renewing registration. Car repairs? Forget about it. Here's one easy solution to your car problem. Donate it to our station. It's fast, free, tax deductible, and if you donate, you're going to feel incredible knowing you're supporting quality programming. Interested? Just call this toll-free number or donate online. Thank you.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the Life Outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
Welcome back. Pastor Mark Little's with us. We're Skyping him in live today from down there in Texas at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. I should be there, but I'm not. And I do miss seeing you, brother, and I do miss buying you lunch again.
I always let you pay. I don't understand that. The inequity between us. I don't get it.
Well, it's I pay, you pray. That's what it is.
That's right.
Okay. Anyway, cure-action.com is his website. Mark, great news coming from the border. The numbers are down, but sex trafficking still abides and continues in our country on both sides of the border. I know you're very passionate about this. What's your take these days?
Wow. Thank you, Perry, for that. You know, the work that we do across the country, educating people about what's happening and how to take action and how to get engaged is what we do. You know, but sometimes you have to pursue things that are not necessarily in your mission, but that are important, especially as the body of Christ. I'm a part of a group called the Spiritual Legislative Council. Several pastors and people in the clergy, men and women, came together. And recently, out of that group, I submitted an executive order to the president to consider a mandate to stop and to dismantle the pipeline relative to the sex trafficking of children. And that passion was born not just from the 300,000 unaccompanied minors who came across our southern border during the Biden administration. And I believe it's 42,000 of those were only given notices to appear. The others were not. So virtually they're lost in the system somewhere. And we were able to find about 80,000 of them. But my history as a lawyer in California, my career began in the dependency court system. And I saw the abuse of children. It is a major scourge in our society. LA County is the largest, the foster care system is the largest resource for child prostitution. And by the way, little black kids are disproportionately represented in that number. We don't talk about it enough. You know, I usually talk about churches being more adoption-minded and not abortion-minded. But we don't often talk about the kids who are gone unseen, who are disappearing on a daily basis. And I believe our government has a role to play. You know, I'm a limited government person, but I believe from a law enforcement perspective, with what we witnessed at the southern border, it's just a snapshot of what's actually happening on a daily basis across our nation. And the human sex trafficking of minors in particular, of course there are adults as well, but the human sex trafficking of minors in particular, I believe there's a mandate in the Bible that we are to speak up for those who don't have a voice to speak up for themselves. And so for me, you know, I'd really like to see our government make a stand on multiple fronts. So one, in dismantling the pipeline, but in addition to that, to actually change the sentencing, federal sentencing for those who are caught trafficking children or having unlawful sex with minors. In California, they're trying to normalize pedophilia. They're normalizing it by reducing the amount of time necessary between the age of the child and the perpetrator, and giving the judge discretion whether or not to make that person register on the sex offender registry. You know, if there's less than 3 years between them, when, oh well, you know, so we are changing the standard before us. And as I said earlier, we've got things happening right under our feet, and we don't say anything about it.
Do you think the pipeline currently, Mark, has been somewhat interrupted by the closing of the border?
There's no doubt about it. The problem with that, so we're stopping sort of the inflow Right now, we're down to very little illegal crossing now. But the reality is that we already have a system in place where kids are already in captivity, if you will, through Child Protective Services and otherwise. And they're being moved around both for labor, for sex, and for satanic rituals. It's happening every day.
So, you're going to request the president on an EO to do this, and what would you like that EO to say, and how do they start?
Well, I told them that first and foremost, we need to keep doing what Tom Homan is doing, which is finding those kids, some of which are lost for administrative purposes, but finding them, putting together a task force that actually helps oversee what the states are doing with these children who are in the system. We had some $42 billion allocated toward helping illegal immigrants, and about $12 billion was allocated to children and paid out to non-governmental organizations, NGOs. And what's going on with that? We don't know. We even had some predators apply to be sponsors for these children. So I've asked for a task force that is a real dedicated part of overseeing that. I think there's some block granting that can be done to the states to make sure that these kids are getting the mental health services and the physical health services that they need, number one. Number two, looking at sentencing like the Adam Walsh Act that created very harsh sentencing for those who are caught. I'd like to make it even more harsh. I'd like to see some life sentences. I think that sentencing is a real deterrent. In times past, if you were caught trafficking a child, you'd get a citation if you were a pimp. You'd get a citation, and in many cases, the young girl would be the one who is now walking around with a felony on her record, or a misdemeanor, depending on the state. So things like that, Perry, I'm asking the president to take a harsher stand and to dismantle wherever we find it. And I think that in a lot of ways, Perry, the government, local and state government, law enforcement, are a part of it. It's a big business. Yeah. Social workers and Child Protective Services. It's really bad.
Wow, got a lot to talk to you about. Got less than a minute. Quickly, the president has moved his faith office to the West Wing. What do you think?
Look, I think anytime a president takes a stand that religious liberty is a priority, I think it should be celebrated. I've heard a lot of the criticism of Paula White, who I know, and just like with the selection of our president, we've got to sometimes be able to say, God knows what he's doing. And he used David when he was just a little shepherd boy. He used Saul, strangely enough. And so we've got to step back and know that God is bigger than what we can see. Amen. I'm so thankful that the president made that call, and I'm praying for them, and I'm praying for Paula White.
And the Lord has used bad boys Mark and Perry.
God knows that is true.
Love you, bro. Wish I was there. We'll catch you soon. Thanks for your time, buddy.
God bless you. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
It can be puzzling assembling all the right pieces for your insurance needs in retirement. I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Guiding you through the stormy seas of insurance, Lighthouse stands out as a